Chapter 407. As the purple bell rang, the entire bipolar star was filled with purple energy ripples. The sound waves rolled in all directions like the waves of the nine heavens, shocking the experts who were trying to capture all kinds of creatures. However, near the godly spiritual mountain, there was a river of blood. All the experts who made a move suppressed the native creatures. It was a bit late for the crepe myrtle sect to arrive now. The Ancestral Hall's major factions made a move like this. They were planning something big and would not let it go. How many years has it been since something like this happened? This is the second ancestral land of the crepe myrtle sect. What are the major factions planning? Is the godly spiritual mountain about to undergo a huge change? No matter what, the Ancestral Hall's actions are unscrupulous. Where's the crepe myrtle sect? After all, the bipolar star is their second ancestral land. It's the same as riding on their heads. The chaos on the bipolar star was temporarily stabilized. The native cultivators were relieved for the time being. The crepe myrtle sect's experts who crossed over all had gloomy expressions. After all, this was their second ancestral land. Although Zhu, Wenxiong, and the others did not target the second ancestral land, this was still a provocation to the crepe myrtle sect. How dare you? An angry voice rang out, and the purple bell began to ring. An old woman walked over from the distance. She released her godly spirit aura, and the starry sky of the universe became dim. This was a supreme power that was spreading out, piercing through the great universe. Her words made the great continent tremble. Its vice leader Meng Feng. The bipolar star's cultivators were shocked. This was the high and mighty vice leader of the crepe myrtle sect. She even came with the divine king weapon. The purple bell had completely awakened, as if it had turned into a living divine king. This bell was extremely powerful. It was hazy with the aura of the divine king. It was about to interweave with the light of order. The moment it rushed over, the endless purple ripples were like an ocean rushing over, shaking the entire bipolar star. Su Yin, who was about to reach the second birthplace of crepe myrtle sect, was shaken by this aura, especially Zhu Sheng, who was breathing heavily as though he was struck by lightning. He exclaimed in shock, "This is the divine king soldier of crepe myrtle sect. This huge bell is simply terrifying." Su Yin shook his head slightly. So what? Meng Feng probably did not dare to fight. After all, a group of immortals from the various top forces had come. They were plotting something big. The crepe myrtle sect could not start a war with the various top forces. Zhu Wenxiong and the others stood in this world. One by one, they devoured the starry sky while holding their blood-stained weapons. Because of their recovery, they were resisting the divine king's killing power, causing the mountains and rivers to explode. Everything was too terrifying. Endless destructive ripples rippled out from the bipolar star, spreading out majestically, causing millions of creatures to feel uneasy. This was the scene of the end of the universe. Once they fought, it was unknown how many people would die. We don't mean any harm. We're just here to investigate some things. We didn't expect to alarm Vice Sect leader Meng Feng. We've been rude. These immortals spoke one after another. The crepe myrtle sect was a top force after all. They also knew that their actions were a bit excessive. However, this matter was of great importance. They had to act first and capture a group of native creatures. This would be of great help to the future events. You want to overlook this matter just because of slight mistake? Are you not taking my crepe myrtle sect seriously? If you don't give me an explanation, don't even think about leaving. Meng Feng had already crossed the border and arrived near the divine mountain range. Seeing the rivers of blood flowing here, she was enraged. The purple bell she summoned rang out again and again. Every syllable contained the divine king's aura. The divine king's weapon had awakened and was aimed at Zhu Wenxiong and the others. However, the terrifying sound of the bell was enough to shatter their hearts and lungs and cause their primordial spirits to collapse. Damn, this weapon is too abnormal. Su Yin almost couldn't bear it. They were already very close to the second place of origin of the crepe myrtle sect. The moment they entered, it was like escaping into an independent small world. The entire small world was automatically defending itself. Every inch of the void was interwoven with a supreme array. Su Yan's pupils suddenly shrank. This second place of origin was definitely opened up by a powerful being. It was different from the Purple Sun Taoist field. This place was still in its heyday. Without a doubt, this was a top Taoist field. It was an important place of the Crepe Myrtle sect. The atmosphere between heaven and earth was tranquil and auspicious. Purple clouds flowed. Looking into the distance, there were flowing springs and waterfalls. Cranes danced in the sky, and palaces were faintly discernible. This was a sacred land. It was solemn and sacred, and a divine aura pervaded the air. However, all the cultivators who came here felt as if they were on a pilgrimage. They looked at the purple clouds drifting in the mountain range. It was a sacred land of the great Tao. The Crepe Myrtle sect was a flourishing sect that had been passed down for millions of years. The sect produced many strong cultivators, and the saintesses were passed down from generation to generation. Even though it was the second place of origin, the Taoist field's grandeur was much more terrifying than the Purple Sun Taoist field. Good fellow, it can even nurture a piece of celestial land. Tai Gongji was speechless. He said, "Of course, it can't be compared to the godly, spiritual mountains of the past. However, this Taoist field has been modified. It stole the energy source of the bipolar star and turned it into a rare pure land." Su Yan couldn't help but nod. He even felt the methods of the mystical sect's cultivators. This vast land had been modified by a mystical sect's cultivator. It was truly extraordinary. Even the essence of heaven and earth inside was exuberant. It swept over like a tide and sprinkled on the ground. It rippled with auspicious clouds and rose with purple clouds. Little friend, the second place of origin naturally had strong cultivators from the Crepe Myrtle sect guarding it. They all knew who Zhu Shang was. "Xia Kunlun." Zhu Shang smiled and said, "Two elders, this is my good friend, Brother Kunlun. He is familiar with the saintess of your Crepe Myrtle sect." Xia Kunlun. The two elders were shocked. They looked at this young man and saw his imposing appearance. A powerful aura was faintly discernible from his body. He was like a true dragon walking on the earth, spurting out dragon-shaped essence blood. They were shocked. This foundation was too strong. They couldn't see through it. There was also a trace of this bottomless and shocking foundation leaking out. It set off his peerless demeanor, like a peerless hero standing in a pure land. He was truly extraordinary. Boom! At this moment, the commotion of the bipolar star suddenly became terrifying. All kinds of energy fluctuations surged. This was a battle between deities. It was as if a group of heavenly deities were fighting for supremacy here. Fortunately, the second place of origin of the Crepe Myrtle sect was guarded by all kinds of foundations. Otherwise, this battle would definitely affect the Taoist field. What a powerful setup. Su Yan's pupils suddenly shrank. He saw the vibrating energy particles approaching. The moment they approached, the land seemed to have come to life. Just a slight airflow was enough to disperse the killing intent that affected the Taoist field. What's going on outside? Why do I feel like the experts of my race are also here? The experts of all the top forces seem to be here. Immediately inform the family that something big has happened on the bipolar star. It seems to be related to the godly mountain range. Perhaps the godly mountain range that has been dormant for an epoch might appear again. In the depths of the Pure Land, clouds surged. A group of young people walked out. They were all attracted by the commotion outside. Originally, they were here to congratulate the birth of the holy body of Lunar. They didn't expect something big to happen on the bipolar star. A group of deities were fighting outside. Dao Brother Kunlun. Some of the young people were shocked when they saw Su Yan. They quickly walked over to greet him. These people were familiar with Zhu Shang and had seen Xia Kunlun before. They definitely didn't expect Xia Kunlun to come here. I didn't expect to see Dao Brother Xia again. Saintess Crepe Myrtle walked out of the clouds. She was beautiful and graceful. Her snow-white skin was surrounded by auspicious clouds. Her temperament was otherworldly. After all, she was one of the masters of this place. She was surprised to see Su Yin again. Huh, the holy body of Lunar has appeared. Of course, I have to come and take a look. Su Yin laughed. It's very lively outside. When I came here, the chaos had just started. I wonder what the experts of the various factions are plotting. Do you guys know? Santa's Crepe Myrtle was also surprised by what had happened. The young engineer nearby were in a commotion. Some people walked up to ask questions, wanting to know more. They are capturing the native living beings near the godly mountain range. These young people had great backgrounds. Most of them came from ancient families with ancient inheritances. They knew some secrets about the godly mountain range. In the last epoch, it was known as the Dojo of Deities. They suspected that the godly mountain range was really about to appear. If that was the case, then it would be a huge event that would shake the vast universe. This matter is of great importance. Dao friends, there is no need to make wild guesses. There will be news soon. A gentle voice was heard. It was like a stream of water that washed away the impatience in people's hearts. Everyone felt like they were bathing in the spring breeze. It was a peerless beauty. She was wearing a snow-white dress. Her temperament was ethereal and untainted by the mortal world. She was elegant and refined. The eyes of all the men present lit up. However, when they recalled her identity, they all paled in comparison. There was even a beautiful woman wearing a purple dress. She was naturally beautiful and had a sweet smile. She was like a little fairy, attracting everyone's attention. Fairy Xia had also come. Sister is right. Santa's Crepe Myrtle walked gracefully and introduced, Dao Brother Xia. This is Fairy Lingyun. She is very famous in the Dan region. She is indeed worthy of the title of fairy. Su Yin walked over and praised. He then glanced at Liang Yan and smiled. Sister Yan, long time no see. Liang Yan snorted and was unwilling to acknowledge Su Yin. She was like a well-bred young lady. Although her appearance was inferior to Fairy Lingyun and Fairy Xia, her dignified, elegant, and cultured appearance was very lovable. Su Yin felt strange. What's wrong with this girl? However, he didn't know that Liang Yan didn't like the ancestral hall. She couldn't forget the fact that Xia Kunlun had helped Zhu Liang and even saved Zhu Sheng. Hey. Fairy Xia glanced at Xia Kunlun unhappily and muttered in her heart. She knew a little about Xia Kunlun and was noticed by a rooster. Back then, when Su Yin emerged from the Yin-Yang galaxy, he had a rooster by his side. He even claimed to be the reincarnation of a divine phoenix. He was practically carved from the same mold as Xia Kunlun's rooster. She was somewhat suspicious of Xia Kunlun's identity, but the future was too far-fetched. I was wondering why this fairy looked so familiar. Su Yin walked over and smiled. Santa's Crepe Myrtle, you don't have to introduce her. I remember now. Isn't this the universe's famous fairy, Xia? Fairy Xia raised her beautiful face and enjoyed it very much. She was very narcissistic and said curiously, I heard that you have a rooster by your side. Let it come out and let me see. Su Yan's heart trembled. He said calmly, it has returned to its sect. Fairy Xia, do you want to come with me to my sect? Where's your sect? Fairy Xia asked, and the people around pricked up their ears. Santa's Crepe Myrtle smiled and said, Fairy Xia, you don't know. It is said that his master asked him to bring a few pearls home. It seems that Brother Xia has taken a fancy to Fairy Xia. There are many people who have taken a fancy to me. Fairy Xia snorted and said without shame, how can I do it if I don't have some real talent? Xia Kunlun, you're here too. I've been looking for you. Suddenly, some people came from the depths of the Pure Land. When Yin Luan saw Xia Kunlun, his face turned ugly. You're Xia Kunlun. I've been looking for you for a long time. This drought demon was also here. The moment the strange phenomenon suppressed in its body was released, the world seemed to have turned into a red country. The aura of disaster was surging, as if a huge volcano had exploded here. The atmosphere here suddenly became cold. This was a drought demon of the underworld race. It could be said to have a shocking battle constitution. Why was it emitting such strong hostility towards Xia Kunlun? Fairy Xia, don't you want to see if I have real talent? Chapter 408. Although Yin Luan's battle power wasn't too strong, who was his brother? That was Xian. It was said that half a year ago, the Umbra lineage spent a lot of money to buy a dragonization fruit from a divine medicine and gave it to Xian. This was a dragonization fruit that could cultivate a shocking battle physique. With Xian's potential, he would definitely cultivate a terrifying Grand Dao physique after refining the dragonization fruit. The Umbra lineage already had powerful physical bodies. This dragonization fruit would definitely make Xian even more powerful. In the future, once Xian was born, he would definitely become a powerful cultivator in the Great Era. His fame would be comparable to the four supremes of the East Demon sect. This is a drought demon. The younger cultivators were all shocked. The Umbra lineage had a drought demon lineage. This lineage was extremely rare, but each of them had peak battle power. It's Xian's strongest general. Someone said in shock. Why is it here? Could it be that Xia Kunlun offended Xian? After all, Xian is the most famous overlord of the Umbra lineage. It's very likely that he has the Umbra lineage's Grand Dao origin mark. Xia Kunlun didn't offend Xian, but he did beat him up. He's probably here to regain his face. Someone sneered, Xia Kunlun is a powerful cultivator's disciple. I don't think the drought demon can defeat Xia Kunlun. But the drought demon lineage has powerful physical bodies. It's said that this drought demon is in the top 20 of the potential list. What? This drought demon has just been born, but it's already in the top 20? Everyone was shocked. They were all very concerned about the potential list. After all, almost all of them were in the quasi-Dao realm. Those who could be included in the potential list could enter the Grand Dao realm in the future. It's just SOSO. Fairy Xia glanced at the drought demon. She wasn't interested in this monster and even kept a distance from it. Fellow cultivator, are you going to fight in my Ziwei Pure Land? The smile on Saintess Ziwei's face was replaced by a hint of dignity. After all, she was the saintess of the Ziwei sect. She couldn't just stand by and watch the drought demon run wild here. Moreover, the drought demon was only a general under Xian. Brother Kunlun, be careful. This drought demon's combat strength is very strong. Its physical body is almost indestructible. Zhu Sheng transmitted his voice and said, he is the strongest general under Xian. The corporeal body of the Hamba race cannot be underestimated. His battle prowess is much stronger than Zhu Jiwen's. Of course, Brother Kunlun is definitely not weaker than Hamba. What is this potential list? Su Yin was a little surprised. It's a list targeted at quasi-Dao realm cultivators. Those who can get on the potential list can almost all step into the Great Dao realm. Zhu Sheng explained, you've met Shueguan before. His ranking on the potential list is very high. Normally, the potential list is based on a person's physique and combat strength. With Shueguan's potential and his dual supreme physiques, how could he not be ranked first? Su Yin was a little surprised. That's hard to say. Just like Brother Kunlun, you haven't appeared on the potential rankings yet because you haven't fought much. Zhu Sheng explained, Shueguan has dual supreme physiques, but he hasn't fought much either. However, he is also very impressive and is ranked third. Shueguan was only ranked third. Su Yin was very surprised and asked about the first place. Zhu Sheng said proudly, he is a peerless genius of our ancestral hall, the son of our ancient ancestor. The little ancestor's bloodline is extremely powerful. Since young, he has been tempered with the worldly source serum and various limited-grade resources to temper his foundation. He was also sealed in the spring of the Great Dao to be nurtured. He has long since developed an invincible combat physique. He will receive the strongest cultivation in every realm. Ancestral Hall's little ancestor. Su Yan's eyes narrowed. If he could kill him, he didn't know if the commotion caused by His Highness Daozu would be even worse than Zhu Liang's death. What? You, Xia Kunlun, are looking down on me? Hamba's words were cold. His red eyes locked onto him as he shouted word by word. I don't care who you are. Your head is mine. The surrounding people were horrified. This was too domineering. He wanted to take the head of a supreme expert's disciple? Ha ha, Xia Kunlun. Do you dare to come out and fight? Inlun looked up and laughed. Don't hide behind a woman. Sena Ziwei, I know this pure land doesn't allow martial arts. I think we should go outside and fight. Xia Kunlun, what do you think? Seems like I went too easy on you last time. Su Yin looked at Inlun and said coldly, since you survived, you still have the face to come here. You really don't know how the word death is written. Xia Kunlun. Inlun's veins popped out on his forehead as he shouted, I'm asking you, do you dare or not? Don't say these useless words. If you don't dare, then kowtow and admit your mistake. The drought demon's aura became even more turbulent. The world was dyed crimson, and not a single blade of grass could grow within 1,000 miles. The moment his vicious blood essence was burning, even a few heroes from the powerful races felt their blood drying up. This was too frightening. Pa! Suddenly, a crisp sound rang out. The surrounding people looked as if they had seen a ghost. They didn't see how Xia Kunlun moved, but Inlun was sent flying like a dead dog. During the process, Su Yin slapped Inlun's face, and 7 or 8 of his teeth fell out. Inlun fell to the ground and only let out a wail like a pig being slaughtered after a long time. Fairy Ling Yun's eyes lit up. She had faintly sensed a trace of spatial fluctuation, but Xia Kunlun's actions were too fast. He sent Inlun flying with a slap, causing Inlun's hair to be disheveled, and he was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. What a good Xia Kunlun. What kind of domain has he cultivated to? The Crepe Myrtle sect's elders were shocked. This degree of control of space had reached perfection. He had the demeanor of a great figure. Could Xia Kunlun be a great Dao Realm expert? Kill him for me. The mocking gazes from all around made Inlun so angry that his scalp was about to explode. His eyes were red as he roared. Kill him. I will bear the consequences. Hamba's eyes erupted with a biting, cold, killing intent. His ferocious aura covered the sky and filled the entire place. His physical body was like divine iron, making clanging sounds and indestructible. Even the void collapsed in a blur. Hamba's physical body was extremely terrifying. There were few in the same generation who could be a match for him. After all, he was considered an overlord among the younger generation of the dark underworld lineage. He couldn't be underestimated. Xia Kunlun, Hamba said coldly and angrily, I heard that your physical body is powerful. I wonder if you can withstand the power of my palm. The flames on his palm were terrifying. Scarlet clouds lingered around it, as if a scarlet flame saber was reviving. It vibrated with a heavy aura, squeezing every inch of the void until it was wailing. This part of the world seemed to be riddled with holes by his palm. I never fight with slaves. Su Yin cast a sidelong glance at him and shouted, It would be better if your master came. As for you, do you have the right to fight with me? These words caused Hamba's eyes to widen in anger. As if he had turned into a mad demon, he roared at the sky. Heaven and earth trembled, and scarlet clouds filled the sky. He hated it the most when people called him a slave. It was true that he was a general under Yin Xian, but his identity wasn't slave. His status was much higher than the legacy disciples of the dark underworld lineage. An elder of the Crepe Myrtle sect walked over and used a technique to seal the surroundings. In fact, they also wanted to see how strong this mysterious Xia Kunlun was. I really can't wait to tear you apart and crush all your bones. Hamba's aura became more and more ferocious. His scarlet hair danced wildly, and his entire body surged with the power of disaster. It was as if the source of destruction was completely reviving here. You asked for it. Su Yin waved at him and said, Come here. I will suppress you with one hand. Zhu Sheng's face trembled slightly. He felt that Xia Kunlun was too arrogant. After all, Hamba was not an ordinary person. Using one hand to suppress Hamba, this was too difficult, unless Xia Kunlun had a body as strong as a true dragon. Bastard, give me your life. Hamba instantly moved. In an instant, it was as if a killing blade had drilled out of hell. His aura was so ferocious that even Meng Ying, who had rushed over, paled. This Hamba was worthy of being called a peerless general. With this kind of willpower, he would definitely become a great person in the future. They're fighting, The people around didn't even blink as they watched with wide eyes. Hamba's speed was terrifying. Furthermore, he unleashed his aura, causing scarlet flames to roil within the sealed minor world. His hand was like a flaming saber that had left its sheath. As it slashed out, the void shattered. So fast, I can't see clearly at all. This Hamba's speed is quite shocking. In the eyes of the spectators, they couldn't see Hamba's movements at all. His palm spewed out terrifying blade auras that were thousands of feet long. They could easily split a mountain range. Kill! He roared. The flaming blade was revived, and Su Yin used all his strength. This sealed space was distorted and was about to be shaken open. Before the crepe myrtle sect elder could be shocked, he saw Xia Kunlun raise his fist. Although it looked like an ordinary fist, in Meng Ying's eyes, it was as if he saw a star in the universe rising. Su Yin was waving his fist, and his divine power was boiling. Suddenly, the surrounding cultivators trembled. The jade-like ancient star was unsealed, and the aura it emitted was too terrifying. It caused the entire sealed, small world to explode. Dong! This punch collapsed all the blade auras. Su Yan's black hair danced wildly. His whole body was like a vigorous, true dragon crossing the sea and into the sky. His aura could swallow the rivers and mountains, and he dominated the world. One punch after another landed on Hitorigami's palm. Every punch was only for a moment, but to Hamba, it was as long as an eternity. After 3 consecutive punches, Hamba lost its spiritual will. Its world was shrouded. In its eyes, Xia Kunlun was like a martial god standing at the top of all living things looking down on it. Su Yan's third punch exploded with a terrifying battle strength. The world rumbled and the mountains shook. This terrifying pure land couldn't trap him. It was like an imprisoned dragon soaring into the sky, a divine phoenix spreading its wings, and a big yellow bell ringing. Chapter 409. Everyone present was shocked. Even the crepe myrtle sect's elders were somewhat dazed. Xia Kunlun's battle prowess was boundless. That was because it was too fast. From the moment Su Yin erupted to the end, it was like a young powerhouse erupting. His martial aura surged violently. He threw out 3 consecutive punches, each of which was like the unsealing of his body. Layer after layer, they surged to a terrifying level and reached the clouds, erupting with extremely powerful battle prowess. Bang! The drought demon's entire arm was torn apart. Fatal wounds drilled into his flesh shell and attacked his bones, organs, and flesh. Crack! His entire flesh shell began to crack like a broken iron weapon, emitting an ear-piercing sound that made one's hair stand on end. In the face of such destructive power, the drought demon let out a cry of pain and despair. He couldn't block it, and even felt that escaping was a luxury. The other party was too tyrannical, releasing earth-shattering might at every turn. It was terrifying beyond compare. Impossible. Inluan was terrified and almost wet himself. He turned tail and ran. The drought demon's entire body shattered and exploded into a pile of meat paste in the void. Even Fairy Lingyun was astonished. How strong was his body? How terrifying was his battle prowess? He could actually blow up the drought demon. Could his body be as tough as a divine weapon? After all, the drought demon wasn't weak. He was a young overlord of the underworld. However, Xia Kunlun was too stunning. This was a peerless method of a young supreme being. There weren't many young experts who could blow up the drought demon in 3 punches in the entire world. They could be counted on one's fingers. The world was dead silent. Many people were stunned. Even Zhu Sheng was scared. He never thought Xia Kunlun would be so powerful. As expected of the disciple of a great expert, someone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Dudley clenched his fists and suppressed the uncontrollable emotions in his heart. Once such an outstanding person appeared and matured in the future, he would definitely become one of the main characters of the stormy era. Who is this brother? His martial prowess is at the peak of perfection. I'm impressed. In the distance, a few more people walked out. They were all stunned by the aura just now. The leader of the group, Wu Hong, was laughing loudly. Compared to a few years ago, Wu Hong had also transformed. He was like a heavenly blade with a sharp edge. His might was powerful, and his martial will was shocking. Brother Wu Hong. The surrounding people cupped their hands in greeting. The Wu family's inheritance was ancient, and they had a high status in the world of cultivation. The cultivators of this family also entered the Tao through martial arts, and the members of this family all had world-shaking battle prowess. This Wu Hong was also extraordinary. Although he was a rising star, he had climbed up step by step and made a name for himself in some of the starry seas. Wu Hong laughed heartily and asked, "From what I can see, Taoist brother strength is incomparably tyrannical. It is definitely not something that was achieved overnight. You must have gone through many bloody battles and tempering." This sentence made the surrounding people nod. To be able to condense such a strong combat strength and spiritual will, it was not something that could be cultivated overnight. Since he was dealing with the disciple of a supreme being, he must have undergone some cruel tempering and tests. This was all thanks to Su Daolong. He had taught Su Yin the Tao of slaughter and the Tao of slaughter. Su Yan's improvement was astonishing. In addition, he had cultivated in seclusion for half a year, nurturing his Tao heart and comprehending the Tao. It was as if he had ascended to a higher level and was no longer the same as before. "My name is Xia Kunlun." Su Yin reported his name and was overjoyed. He did not expect to meet an acquaintance like Wu Hong. Back then, when they were on the Big Dipper, they had gone through thick and thin together. He wondered if he could get the whereabouts of Bao Kai and the others from Wu Hong. Wu Hong became serious. No wonder he was so fierce. So he was the disciple of a supreme being. "Yes, Brother Xia's sudden eruption just now gave me a fright." Saintess Zi Wei recovered from her shock. The nearby younger generation cultivators did not dare to breathe too loudly. Xia Kunlun's performance just now was too fierce. He killed Hamba with 3 punches. This battle general under Yin Xian's command didn't even have the time to flee. He was completely crushed by Yin Xian's momentum. The surrounding people looked at Su Yin in a different light. If he was the disciple of a supreme being, then he would definitely be the supreme being's personal disciple. His status was not to be underestimated, and he would be on the same level as the supreme beings of the major factions. "It can't be, right?" Fairy Zi, Xia muttered in her heart. She felt that Xia Kunlun could not be Su Yin. After all, this person's battle strength was decisive and experienced. The terrifying essence, energy, and spirit during the process of his attack, and the way he crushed the enemy, were not the same as Su Yin in the past. Without a doubt, this was taught by a grandmaster of the Tao of Slaughter. Su Yan's move had already stunned the cultivators present. They were even more convinced of Xia Kunlun's identity. Even Hamba could not force him to use his battle strength. This person was unfathomable. "Weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you running away now?" A reprimand resounded. This Yin Luan was suppressed by a golden hoof. Because the force was too strong, Yin Luan's knees bent. With a plop, he knelt on the ground and let out a blood-curdling scream like a pig being slaughtered. Even his shoulders were broken. This scene caused the surrounding people to be horrified. They saw a huge golden bull with a body of translucent gold. This huge golden bull seemed to be cast from gold. It looked very bold and powerful. Its entire body was glaring, and its fur was sparkling and translucent like silk. A pair of golden horns shone on its forehead. In short, this golden bull's appearance was quite perfect, as if it was carved from gold. It stretched out its hoof and suppressed Yinlun, golden iron bull. The surrounding people were moved and turned pale. They recalled that the supreme being of the ancient universe in the demon realm, who could be called the master of the demon realm, was also a golden iron bull. Could this be the descendant of the golden iron bull's bloodline? At the same time, there were also powerful creatures of the demon realm here. They were all astonished. They did not know that the bloodline of the golden iron bull had been passed down in the demon realm. Su Yan's eyes looked at the golden iron bull. He couldn't help but recall Tai Bao Kai. In the past, Tai Bao Kai had activated the Dharma idol, and one of them was the Dharma idol of the golden iron bull. He looked at this guy, looking at its arrogant posture and the way it suppressed Inlun. Why did he feel that this guy's expression was somewhat similar to that of Tai Bao Kai? How dare you humiliate me? Inlun let out a hysterical roar. My brother is In Xian, my brother. Before he could finish, the golden hoof stomped on Inlun's chest. This stomp was so strong that even Inlun's strong flesh shell could not withstand it. His entire chest cracked, as if it was about to explode. Have mercy. Saintess Z Wei's expression changed. After all, he was In Xian's brother. If he died in Z Wei Pure Land, it would be troublesome. After all, Inlun's identity was different from Hitorigami. The golden iron bull opened its eyes wide and glanced at Saintess Z Wei. Golden flames spewed out of its nostrils as it snorted. Look at how arrogant he is. Using his brother to threaten me? If I don't teach him a lesson, he will think that his brother is the strongest in the world. Let me go if you dare. I will invite my brother here. Inlun's face was filled with humiliation. Don't you dare leave. Although my brother is not the strongest in the world, it is not difficult for him to deal with you all. In Xian, who refined the dragon transformation fruit, was famous in the universe. His prestige among the younger generation was extremely high. No one doubted In Xian's battle prowess. You can invite your brother here. Su Yin walked over and looked at Inlun as he shouted, Kowtow, and admit your mistake. Then I will let you go. Xia Kunlun, don't push me too far. Inlun's eyes widened in anger. Kowtow, and admit his mistake. Not only would his reputation be ruined, the experts of the dark underworld race would not let him go. After all, he was In Xian's brother, and he had ruined In Xian's reputation. Su Yin raised his hand and slapped Inlun's face, causing blood to spurt out from his nose and mouth. Su Yin's strength was exceptionally great. His slap caused Inlun's head to buzz. It was a tragic sight. The surrounding people could not bear to watch. At the same time, their hearts were filled with fear. This Ya Kunlun's confidence was too great. He killed the people of the dark underworld lineage as he wished and hit In Xian's younger brother as he wished. The more confident he was, the more people believed that he had a powerful backer. Taoist brother Xia, can you give me some face and let him go? Saint Z Wei came to plead. Hamba was dead. After all, he was only a general. However, Inlun was different. He was an inheritor of the dark underworld race. His death here would cause a huge commotion. The dark underworld race would not let this go. Don't worry, he won't die. The golden ox kicked Inlun away with his hoof. He raised his golden head and said arrogantly, It's just a slight concussion. It's nothing. Su Yan's eyes lit up. As for the nearby cultivators, they were dumbfounded. They did not know what a concussion was. However, after thinking about it carefully, they felt that it was consistent with Inlun's injuries. Xia Kunlun's slap was not light. Taoist brother, you seem to be an expert of the golden iron ox race. Su Yin looked at him and asked, Thank you for your help just now. Otherwise, this brat would have escaped. It's no big deal, just a small matter. The golden ox looked indifferent. He raised his golden head and said, I am Taidaniu. The surrounding people felt that this name was a bit tacky. Su Yin was immediately amused. This guy must be the Tai Bao Kai, without a doubt. However, Su Yin looked at the drunken old man behind the Bao Kai and felt a chill in his heart. He felt that this old man was somewhat unfathomable. Therefore, he did not choose to send a message, afraid that someone would intercept the message. Forgive my poor eyesight, but I don't know that our demon race still has the golden iron ox race. May I ask where this Taoist brother is from? A few young elites from the demon realm walked over with a respectful attitude. There were even some young geniuses from the demon realm who quickly spread the news. They felt that something big had happened to the golden iron ox race. After all, these young geniuses from the demon realm all had great backgrounds. They had obtained some secret information. During the ancient universal era, after the disappearance of the demon realm supreme, the banners of demons also disappeared. The most important thing was that the golden iron ox race had mysteriously disappeared. This king is from Mount Longhu, Taidaniu proudly said. Even if I tell you, you wouldn't know. This is an immortal island. The surrounding people looked at each other. They really didn't know what kind of place Mount Longhu was. This was where all the famous young geniuses from all the major powers gathered. Xia Kunlun was one thing, but this Tydania's background was also somewhat unfathomable. It was even suspected that he was from the Golden Iron Ox race. In the last universe era, this bloodline was the famous supreme bloodline of the demon realm. Thinking about it carefully, this was somewhat shocking. Even Meng Ying and the rest were curious. However, the young generation's great era was coming. It was likely that all the young geniuses from the various galaxies, famous mountains, and immortal islands would come out one after another to contend for hegemony. I don't know about Mount Longhu, but Xia Kunlun, I wanted to have a chat with you for a long time. A dignified voice resounded, and a heavy pressure immediately filled the entire place. Wu Heng and the rest thought that it was an expert who had arrived. They didn't expect it to be a young man wearing silver-white battle clothes. He was like a burning ball of silver flames, revealing a terrifying aura. He arrived with his hands behind his back and looked down at the entire place. He looked at Xia Kunlun and said, "Back then, you were also at the Crepe Myrtle Dojo. Do you know how that little bastard, Su Yin, managed to sneak in?" Mata had a blackout and was dying of heat. He ran to the internet cafe to update. Chapter 410. The young man in silver battle armor had his hands behind his back, exuding the dignity of a superior. He was even more intimidating than ordinary great Tao realm experts. The energy fluctuations released from his body seemed to come from a distant space. Waves of rumbling, sounds were transmitted over like a tsunami. It was very ferocious, causing some of the Crepe Myrtle sect's elders to pale. Because this kind of manifestation was very extraordinary. This meant that his foundation was too deep and bottomless. The source of divine energy in his body rose and fell. The aura spreading from the source gave them a distant feeling. This undoubtedly meant that this person had a peerless foundation and a shocking battle physique. Moreover, the silver battle armor he wore was interwoven with profound great Tao heavenly marks. It was as if great Tao diagrams were imprinted on the battle armor. It was suffused with a divine aura that was equally deep and shocking. Divine battle armor. Someone's scalp went numb. This was definitely a rare, supreme treasure. He came here wearing a divine battle armor. Even great Tao realm experts were envious of such a foundation. How many resources would one need to spend to buy such a battle armor? The divine battle armor was a shocking treasure that focused on defense. Tydania was a little envious. This battle armor was extremely difficult to forge. It was equivalent to a mobile treasure trove. However, this kid was so young. So how could he have such a rare battle armor? However, his words caused a commotion in the surroundings. The name Su Yin was too familiar. Although more than half a year had passed, Su Yan's name was still being mentioned. Back then, the incident at Purple Sun Taoist Rite had shaken all the major clans. The top Taoist Rite had been opened, Zhu Yang had died, and more than 20 young seeds had been killed. Each unexpected incident was more shocking than the last. Back then, the Ancestral Hall's losses were extremely heavy. It was even related to a rising star called Su Yin. It was rumored that this person was even a member of the burial region. This was a huge matter, and no one had expected it to be mentioned. One had to know that His Highness Daozu was still brooding over this matter. Who would dare to rashly mention Su Yin? Brother Zhu Yong. Zhu Sheng walked over, extremely excited. He walked up to greet him. What? He's Zhu Yong. The hearts of the spectators trembled, and their eyes widened. Meng Ying and the others were also a little pale. Zhu Yong, who was known as a peerless genius of the Ancestral Hall. Moreover, Zhu Yong was the son of Zhu Cheng, the Vice Hall Master of the Ancestral Hall. It was rumored that Zhu Yong and the son of the Ancestral Hall's great ancestor received the same treatment. As soon as he was born, he was thrown into all kinds of places of good fortune, nurtured by rare treasures, and enjoyed the endless rare resources of the world. Behind him, there was Zhu Cheng's painstaking effort in nurturing him. Zhu Yong's fame was too great. He was one of the top 3 geniuses of the Ancestral Hall. It was rumored that he had an unparalleled battle physique and had long cultivated a peerless foundation. Once it was awakened one day, he would definitely become an expert that could shake the entire universe. With Zhu Yong's status and fame, he was at the top of the younger generation in the ancestral palace. His name spread far and wide in the universe. The atmosphere was somewhat quiet, and it could even be said that it was stifling. He was Zhu Qing's son, Zhu Yong, and he could represent the ancestral hall with his words and actions. His status was frighteningly great. God's spirit battle suit. Su Yan's heart was burning. This item was too precious and could be called a rare item. 50,000 kilograms of celestial essence stones couldn't even be bought. Moreover, this godly spirit battle armor might have been worn by Zhu Cheng, so its value is difficult to measure. Brother Kunlun. Zhu Sheng stood up and smiled at Su Yan. This is our ancestral hall's peerless genius, the son of Vice Hall Master Zhu Cheng. So it's Brother Zhu Yong. Su Yan walked up and cupped his hands. I'm Su Yan. I didn't expect to meet a genius from the ancestral hall here. I'm truly fortunate. Dao brother is too polite. Zhu Yong gently shook his head. He was very powerful. With his hands behind his back, he paced around and said indifferently, I just happened to be nearby when you made your move. With your battle strength, there's naturally a place for you in the potential rankings. I heard you're the disciple of a powerful expert. Your future achievements won't be low. Zhu Yong commented on Su Yan. His tone was very arrogant, and he was quite conceited. However, he also had the qualifications. After all, he was a proud son of heaven who had been nurtured by countless rare resources since young. He didn't care about Su Yan's fake identity at all. With the attitude of a leader of the younger generation, he said, coincidentally, we met. There are some things I need to ask you. Back then, when you were at Purple Sun Daoist Temple, did you meet that little bastard Su Yan? Zhu Yong's eyes were filled with killing intent. His father had always wanted to capture Su Yan, but now he had returned in good condition. Although Zhu Yong didn't care about the loss, this was a disgrace. I did. Su Yan was calm and composed. He walked up and smiled faintly. When I came out of seclusion, I saw more than 20 halls of the ancestral hall filled with corpses. I knew something big had happened. Later on, I saw that something had happened to Lord Zhu Yong. His voice spread out like a cold wind blowing over. It made the surrounding people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They all had goosebumps. Could it be that it was really Su Yan who had done it? It wasn't, as the rumors said, that there was an expert from the burial region who had done it in secret. Zhu Yong's aura surged violently. He was like a dormant, ferocious beast that had opened its eyes. Endless divine light surged out from his body, piercing through the heavens. His entire person was different. He was like a young god that was enraged. The rumbling sound of tsunamis could be heard from his body. The terrifying pressure made the surrounding people breathe heavily. They felt as if they were facing a great Dao realm expert. So powerful, the younger generation paled in fright. It was no wonder that Zhu Yong's position was unshakable. Now, his current appearance was shocking. The energy source in his body was vast and unparalleled. He had cultivated a shocking battle physique. It was as if the sky had condensed and stood here, making them feel suffocated. Can this small fry overturn the heavens? My race has already investigated. It was because of the problem with Purple Sun Daoist Temple that such chaos occurred. As for how strong this bug is, how strong can he be? He is just taking advantage of the situation. Zhu Yong's entire body was filled with bone-piercing, killing intent. He said coldly, I came out of seclusion for his head. Spread the word that Su Yan's head is mine. Whoever dares to fight with me will be my enemy. Understood. Soon, the news will spread throughout the entire universe and all the major races. Zhu Sheng and the others hurriedly nodded and ordered their subordinates to spread the news. Even Zhu Yong had come out. Was there any suspense about killing Su Yan? Ha ha! Even Dao brother Zhu Yong has taken action. Suppressing Su Yan is nothing. Someone walked out with a fawning expression. That's right. I've heard of Su Yan. Back then, he was just a small young overlord in the Big Dipper Star region. What kind of Ingjie did the Big Dipper Star region nurture? In the entire universe, it's not enough. The people of the burial region have been struggling at death's door all these years. Although they were once glorious, do they have the qualifications to speak for the burial region now? If they don't go with the flow, I'm afraid they'll really be finished. A young Ingjia from the various races spoke and flattered Zhu Yong. He was Zhu Cheng's son, and his status in the ancestral hall was equivalent to that of a deputy hallmaster. In the future, he would definitely hold great power and conquer the world. They're just a bunch of ignorant fools who only know how to attack from behind. Zhu Yong shook his head and said disdainfully, "Not worth mentioning. One day, they'll understand that this universe is no longer suitable for them to live in. The winner takes all. They're no longer suitable to live in this world." If Su Yin meets Dao, brother Zhu Yong, there's no doubt he'll be defeated and run away. Saint Zi Wei's eyes flashed with cold, killing intent. She felt very regretful that she could have killed him back on the Big Dipper. Defeated and run away? Zhu Yong frowned slightly. He put his hand behind his back and said coldly, "If I really meet him, will he be able to run away?" "You're right." Saintess Zi Wei chuckled. She walked up and said with a smile, "Dao, brother Zhu Yong, you're not just here for Su Yan, right? I'm looking at the chaos outside. Can Dao, brother Zhu Yong, explain it to us in advance?" "Tell me about it," Zhu Yong said with an unfriendly expression. "It's a long story. It's related to the Godly Soul mountain range. I'm afraid this secret realm is really going to open." "What?" Everyone was shocked. The Godly Soul mountain range, which was known as the dojo of the gods in the ancient times, had turned into a forbidden zone due to certain factors. It was rumored that many gods had fallen there, and there was even a possibility that some powerful beings had passed away. No one had opened this forbidden zone. Not to mention the treasures left behind by the fallen gods. The Godly Soul mountain range was a super powerful place of fortune. It was a peerless dojo in the ancient era. If the Godly Soul mountain range could really open, it would be a huge event that would stir the entire universe. Go back and report to the Grand Ancestor. Tell him that the Godly Soul mountain range is about to open. The little ancestor of the ancestral hall said it himself. The peak factions have already arrived. This news will spread out soon. Let the family prepare. In the Zi-Wei Pure Land, the news spread. Even if Zhu Yong said it himself, the various factions would still notice something. The news of the Godly Soul mountain range spread out quickly. After all, it was too big of a commotion. It was impossible to seal it. "You mean someone sold the news to the Ancestral Hall about the Godly Soul mountain range, but the news was not sold to the Ancestral Hall alone?" Su Yin squinted his eyes. This was weird. If the Godly Soul mountain range was really opening, who would sell the information that they knew the way in and out? They even sold it to the various subversive factions. Zhu Yong did not say what the news was, but since the Ancestral Hall sent a god to investigate, it must be true. However, Zhu Wenxiong did not expect that the other party would sell the news to the other peak factions. Now, it was impossible to monopolize the Godly Soul mountain range. Originally, Su Yin came to the Godly Soul mountain range because of Shui Guan and the initial fist. However, now that the various peak factions had arrived, the Godly Soul mountain range would probably be in for a bloodbath. Su Yin was speechless. When the time came, the various factions' experts would not even be able to get a share. Do the various factions' experts know about the initial fist? Su Yin asked Tai Rooster secretly. It shouldn't be possible. Very few people know about it. Tai Rooster was also very puzzled. He sent out a weak primordial spirit thought. The initial fist is related to the Great Dao Mountain. This is a very long time ago. I'm afraid only a few people from the primordial era know about it. Su Yin frowned. What was the motive of the person who spread the news? Everyone, Chapter 411. The Sacred Lunar Body of the Crepe Myrtle Sect. This person has been rumored for several years. She is finally going to appear. She must have succeeded in her cultivation. Otherwise, the Crepe Myrtle Sect wouldn't have let this generation with the Sacred Lunar Body come out of seclusion. I wonder where the Crepe Myrtle Sect found such a disciple. Every sovereign body was extremely rare. Even for the various pinnacle powers, the chances of nurturing a sovereign body was extremely slim. There There were some rare physiques that might not even appear in an entire universe era. The sacred lunar body, which was extremely rare, had now appeared in the crepe myrtle sect. This shocked the various factions because this physique was too ancient. It had appeared in the Desolate Era. It was said that the founder of the crepe myrtle sect had the sacred lunar body. The sacred lunar ancient scripture was very famous in the cultivation world. It was an immortal celestial scripture and was extremely valuable. In the entire universe, the number of families and factions that had the immortal celestial scripture could be counted on one hand. Even the top factions might not have the immortal celestial scripture. It was rumored that this scripture was related to a terrifying true immortal. It only existed in legends. This scripture could make even powerful figures bow down. Of course, the immortal celestial scripture would only show its strength at the Great Tao realm. Up until now, the young Great Tao realm cultivators of the various top factions rarely went out. They were all in seclusion, comprehending the Tao, and trying to break through to a higher realm. The origin of the sacred lunar body of the crepe myrtle sect was a mystery. Many people didn't even know her name. However, once the sacred lunar body appeared, it would mean a lot. This was because it was related to the crepe myrtle sect and the immortal celestial scripture. Perhaps this generation's sacred lunar body could grow into the leader of the crepe myrtle sect in the future. Controlling a top faction was a terrifying achievement. In the future, she was destined to shock the world and be immortalized. She would be revered by generations of the sect's rising stars. Therefore, the significance of this generation's sacred lunar body was completely different. After all, the strongest celestial technique of the crepe myrtle sect was the sacred lunar ancient scripture, and the sacred lunar body was the woman who had the most hope of controlling the sect's foundation. He's here. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, the cultivators of various clans who came had ugly expressions. A shadow walked over from afar. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a man. He walked like a dragon, and his entire body was covered by divine light. Only his eyes were open, and as they opened and closed, the light of the great Tao shot out. His eyes were like the ocean of the great Tao, and they emitted a terrifying aura. Great Tao heavenly eye. Even Zhu Yong was moved. Although this was only the beginning, those who could cultivate the heavenly eye of the great Tao were all world-shocking geniuses and future supreme beings. It was clear that this was a male. His divine might was awe-inspiring as he walked over from the distance. He was like a golden deity that had walked out from the ancient world. Behind him, terrifying energy rippled. Dragons and phoenixes appeared, and it was as if he was a living supreme existence that was overlooking the heavens. Long Yufeng, he Shueguan. This place erupted with commotion. Zhu Sheng and the others' expressions all changed. How could this be? Why would Shueguan be in the depths of the purple myrtle pure land? After all, that was an important place of the purple myrtle pure land. Outsiders would not be able to enter. However, today was an exception. Shueguan actually walked out from the inside. Compared to half a year ago, Shueguan's power was undoubtedly on another level. The dragon and phoenix dharma form had cultivated to perfection. They were like a true dragon and a divine phoenix that stood at the peak of the 9 heavens, surrounding and protecting Shueguan. At this moment, he seemed to have transformed into an eternal sun. Heaven and earth lost their color. Only the world-shaking divine power in his body spread, and the heavenly great Tao phenomenon appeared. Although he had not crossed into the great Tao realm, his current aura was enough to make the strong cultivators of the older generation pale in comparison. His corporeal body was shocking, and his magic power was overwhelming. He had the dragon and phoenix dharma form, an extremely terrifying supreme body. One could imagine how strong Shueguan was. He was as steady as an unclimbable mountain, making some people feel suffocated. However, although Shueguan was strong, he had appeared in the depths of the purple myrtle pure land. Could it be that he had already met the great moon saint physique in advance? This made some people's expressions turn ugly. Could it be that the purple myrtle sect valued Shui Guan so much? However, some people's hearts burned with the flames of gossip. Some people speculated that Shui Guan was very likely the descendant of some important figure in the purple myrtle sect. No one knew who Shui Guan's birth mother was. The people of the cultivation world also knew that the purple myrtle sect only had one female disciple. Now that a man had appeared in the depths of the purple myrtle sect's pure land, this was different. It was very likely that he was a powerful figure. Who was Shui Guan's birth mother? Even the many elders of the purple myrtle sect did not know. Meng Ying's face was full of smiles. Su Yin looked at her. He felt that Shui Guan's birth mother could not be Meng Ying. With Meng Ying's status, it was impossible for her to let Shui Guan enter the purple myrtle sect's pure land freely. Look, the great moon saint physique has also appeared. The spectators widened their eyes. In the distance, clouds rolled and auspicious clouds lingered. A divine aura rushed over. A woman walked over. She was like an ice beauty walking out of a snowy country. Her steps were light and graceful. She wore a snow-white dress. Her fine black hair danced in the wind. Her temperament was cold and elegant. She walked over from the clouds. She did not appear to be very powerful, but she had a kind of otherworldly beauty that appeared in the eyes of the people. She is the great moon saint physique. What a stunning beauty! There were praises all around. The words were not loud, and the atmosphere was very quiet. She has changed a lot. She probably feels uncomfortable. Su Yin thought to himself. He knew Yi Si Yin too well. Although her mental appearance had changed, she felt uncomfortable inside. She felt like she was standing on a stage, being watched and commented on. She did not like this kind of atmosphere. What does the purple myrtle sect mean? They want Shui Guan to meet the great moon saint physique in advance. Does the purple myrtle sect value Shui Guan? Do they think he will be invincible in the future? Now that Fairy Lingyun is here, she must be here for Emperor Nan. Don't forget that the young paragons of the Nine Sun Starfield have also come many times to express their admiration. I think Shui Guan is very strong. He has 2 paragons. In the future, he will be the paragons of the Nine Sun Starfield. He is very compatible with the great moon saint physique. There were discussions all around. Meng Ying had already walked out with a face full of smiles. He introduced Yi Si. Many people came from the passageway today. They are all the elites of the younger generation. There are some who are not here yet. They will be here in a few days. This is the peerless genius of the Ancestral Hall, Zhu Yong. Meng Ying was very enthusiastic. He was the first to introduce the peerless genius of the Ancestral Hall. His old face was smiling like a blooming chrysanthemum. He said, he is the son of the Vice Hall Master of the Ancestral Hall, Zhu Cheng. He is a famous figure of the younger generation. I'm so lucky. I did not expect the great moon saint physique of this generation to be such a beauty. Zhu Yong walked forward with a face full of smiles. He looked at Yi Si Yin. Then his eyes turned to Shui Guan and asked, Shui Guan, I know you. You have 2 paragons. You are indeed not weak. Dao brother, you flatter me. It is very difficult for this kind of physique to grow. Shui Guan also cupped his hands. I will not talk more with you. I came here for the great moon saint physique. Zhu Yong went straight to the point with a trace of killing intent in his eyes. He said, the second reason is also related to you. When you were cultivating in the Purple Sun Temple, you should have met Su Yin, the little bastard, right? Meng Ying and the others' expressions changed. They did not expect Zhu Yong to say this. Outsiders did not know, but Meng Ying and Shui Guan knew very well that the relationship between Yi Si Yin and Su Yin was somewhat unusual. Sure enough, the moment he said this, Yi Si Yin's expression changed. Her pupils shrank as she stared at Zhu Yong without blinking. The change in the atmosphere was immediately caught by someone. The surrounding people were surprised. What was going on? First of all, almost everyone was paying attention to Yi Si Yin. However, Yi Si Yin's change made them feel that Zhu Yong mentioning Su Yin had caused a change in her emotions. Saintess Zi Wei sneered to herself. It would be strange if she could remain calm. If she was not calm, it meant that her relationship with Su Yin was not close. Now, she had lost her composure. This meant that the relationship between Su Yin and her was not ordinary. Now, the name Su Yin was taboo. Who dared to have a relationship with him? Even the Big Dipper lineage had expelled Su Yin from the sect. In Isi clenched her slender, jade-like hands. Her heart felt as if it was being squeezed. Zhu Yang's words just now had made In Isi somewhat unable to bear it. If it wasn't for the fact that she had been cultivating her mind and temperament all these years, she would have probably lost control of herself more than just a little. Meng Ying's heart was filled with anger. It was not easy to find a great moon saint physique. If the relationship between her and Su Yin was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. How could the ancestral hall let this go? Even a top Dao ground was destroyed by the latter. Once the relationship between Su Yin and Yi Si Yin was exposed, the entire Ziwei sect would have to bear the pressure of the ancestral hall. What is it? Zhu Yong slightly stiffly turned his head. His sharp eyes looked at Yi Si Yin and said, "Is there a relationship between the Great Moon Saint physique and Su Yin?" Haha, Dao friend is really good at joking. My sect's Great Moon Saint physique has been an isolated cultivation in the Ziwei Pure Land. Meng Ying quickly suppressed her emotions and smiled. What does it have to do with Su Yin? Shuiguan didn't say a word. He naturally knew about the relationship between Su Yin and Yi Si Yin. I say, Shuiguan, you are really lucky. I didn't expect you to come to the Ziwei Pure Land. Su Yin suddenly walked out and said in a loud voice, "Last time, you and I both met Su Yin at the Purple Sun Dao ground. At that time, I was really surprised that you couldn't hold on. I didn't expect this Su Yin to attack you." Xia Kunlun. Shuiguan's mind instantly fell on him. His eyes slightly narrowed as he said, "I didn't expect Brother Xia to be here. That year, I was lucky enough to not die. I wonder what happened between Brother Xia and Su Yin." The two words Xia Kunlun made Yi Si Yin slightly come back to her senses. This was because these words contained too many memories. As the ancestor of all mountains in Huaxia, Su Yin had climbed it before and even told her about his experience in detail. As for Shuiguan, he was a bit suspicious of Xia Kunlun's identity. Wasn't Su Yan's arrival too strange? Not only Shuiguan, but the Ancestral Hall also suspected that there was an internal problem and that there might be a spy. However, now that Xia Kunlun had come here in such a grand manner, Shuiguan's suspicions disappeared by quite a bit. Even if Su Yin was extremely daring, he wouldn't dare to come to the Ziwei Pure Land. EC, this is Xia Kunlun, a disciple of a grand expert. He is a rare dragon among men. Meng Ying enthusiastically introduced and wanted to change the topic. However, the order of introduction was a bit different. I came all the way here for the extreme, Saint physique. Su Yin looked at EC Yun and said with an unusually bright smile, "I come from Mount Kunlun. When will Fairy come home with me?" Everyone's faces turned green. This was too straightforward. He didn't even say a word, and he wanted to take her home? "Don't steal from me." Tai Dainyu roared and ran over with his head held high. He said, "I come from Mount Longhu. When will Fairy come home with me?" Fuck. Chapter 412. Isi Yun's heart trembled slightly. She lost her composure once again. Whether it was Mount Kunlun or Mount Longhu, she had heard about them since she was young. There were many myths and legends among them. When she lived in the village at the foot of the snowy mountain, Su Yin would often tell her stories about these two mountains. Although she was still young at that time, the memories were still fresh in her mind. She also yearned for the outside world. She was admitted to the same university as Su Yin as she wished. What happened after that could only be described as bizarre. Now that she thought about it, Yi Si Yun's emotions were greatly stirred. She was almost certain that this Xia Kunlun, or Tai Dainyu, should be Su Yin and Tai Baokai. Zhu Yang's words just now made Yi Si Yun feel a trace of despair. How could she not know that the Hall of Daozu was a force even more terrifying than the Ziwei segmentum, a force that dominated the universe? If Su Yin really provoked the Ancestral Hall, the consequences would be unimaginable. Now that Xia Kunlun and Tai Dainyu had appeared, Yi Si Yin calmed down a little. Things should not be that bad. She felt that Xia Kunlun and Tai Dainyu were reminding her to stay calm. The surrounding people were speechless. Weren't Xia, Kunlun, and Tai Daniu's word a little too much? After all, this was the sacred body of the great moon of the Ziwei sect. It was very likely that she would become a sect master in the future. Meng Ying and the others' faces were faintly ugly. After all, this was the sacred body of the great moon of their sect. Isi Yun's second loss of composure made Zhu Yong frown slightly. Perhaps he had sensed wrongly. This woman was not very experienced. Why should I go to your house? I have never heard of Mount Kunlun or Mount Longhu. Isi Yun replied, wanting to probe further. Her words caused an uproar in the surrounding people. Someone rushed over anxiously. Saintess, my house is much more beautiful than some unknown Mount Kunlun or Mount Longhu. Why don't you come to our Jade Plate Mountain? My clan will definitely treat you with the highest hospitality. Our Wu clan's scenery isn't bad either. Wu Heng also ran over to join in the fun. There are mountains, rivers, flowers. Before F***K could finish his sentence, someone interrupted. Why go to the Wu clan? Your clan is filled with a bunch of martial artists who only know how to wield weapons. What's there to see? Why would the noble Saintess go to your family? It's better to go to Chilean Star. That's right, the Wu clan doesn't have any scenery at all. Someone nodded and enthusiastically introduced their own clan situation to Isi Yun. What about our Wu clan? How is it bad? Wu Heng was enraged. Speak clearly. I think you guys are asking for a beating. It was as if these youngsters had taken an aphrodisiac. They no longer cared about Xia Kunlun or the Golden Iron Bull. Each and every one of them did their best to introduce the situation of their family. They almost brought out their 18 generations of ancestors. Meng Ying's face darkened. It was supposed to be a grand event, but the scene was in such a mess. Where was the propriety? Su Yin, that scoundrel. It's all his fault that I'm in such a mess. Meng Ying's heart was burning with anger. After all, Su Yan's reputation was too great, and she had a close relationship with Su Yan. Once the ancestral hall and the dark underworld lineage found out about their relationship, it wouldn't be a good thing. Isi Yun's temperament was cold and elegant. Her skin was like ice and jade, and her appearance gave people a feeling of being 1,000 miles away. However, it was hard to resist the enthusiasm of the Yingjie of the various clans' younger generation. They surrounded her like stars surrounding the moon. Isi Yun also didn't mention Su Yan. She didn't understand. They came from the distant earth. What kind of enemy could they have provoked? Isi Yun's understanding of the universe was limited, but she knew what kind of power the Daozu Hall belonged to. She wanted to know what Su Yan had experienced in these past few years. Su Yan occasionally paid attention to Saintess Si Wei. He maintained his vigilance against this woman. Currently, Isi Yun staying in the Purple Myrtle sect was the best choice. After all, with her physique, she would be valued by the Purple Myrtle sect. However, would Saintess Zi Wei be willing to give up her position? As for Saintess Zi Wei, she was wondering if Isi Yun was also from the Burial Realm lineage. She still didn't understand. Why was Su Yan from the Burial Realm lineage? The Ancestral Hall shouldn't have made a mistake. Although Isi Yun and Su Yan weren't close relatives, she couldn't help but think about it. A terrifying airflow spread out from the distance. At the end of the horizon, golden light shot out in all directions. It was like a furnace had been overturned, evaporating the clouds. Who is it? The surrounding people were shocked. They looked into the distance and saw a young man in a golden robe walking over. Behind him, huge divine rings appeared, a total of 9 divine rings. They were like 9 looming suns hanging behind him. They made him look impenetrable. He was like a divine king of the sun that ruled the world. The arrival of a young paragon from the 9-sun galaxy wasn't surprising. It was rumored that the upper echelons of the 9-sun galaxy sect had been in contact with the Purple Myrtle sect. They wanted Supreme 9-sun to marry the great moon saint physique. It was said that the two physiques could complement each other. Even the elders of the Purple Myrtle sect were moved by this. Ah, Dao friend Sundong, welcome. Sorry for not going out to meet you. Meng Ying walked up to greet him. Being so close to him, he felt a little suffocated. Meng Ying's heart was filled with shock, but the smile on his face grew wider. Sun Dome was a true paragon of the 9-sun galaxy sect. He had obtained the great Dao imprint of the 9-sun galaxy sect. The invincible Jie was only second to the four paragons. It was still unknown how strong Sundome would be in the future. Just the fact that the Nine-Sun Galaxy sect had sealed him for 60,000 years and only revealed him in this generation showed how strong Sundome's potential was. Grand Elder, Sundome was very polite. His muscular body was bathed in the sun's divine fire. There was no doubt that he was terrifying. Just by standing there, he made the young cultivators present feel shocked and suffocated. After all, he was a young paragon who had comprehended the great Tao realm. In the entire universe, how many young paragons could be compared to Sundome? Sundome's eyes looked at Yin. As his golden eyes opened and closed, divine light shot out. Just as he was about to walk up to her, a thunderous sound came from afar. It was as if thousands of thunderbolts had exploded here. Just as the sound appeared, a figure had already rushed here. Even the sky changed color. It was as if it had been split by blazing lightning. Thunder rumbled between heaven and earth. A young man surrounded by lightning walked over. His figure was like a bolt of lightning that could destroy the world. It was very shocking. The young paragon of the divine firmament star field. The young cultivators were shocked. Another legendary figure had arrived. He was known as the King Flash of the divine firmament star field. He had also obtained the great Tao imprint of the divine firmament star field. He was a famous paragon of the divine firmament star field in the universe. Some of the prodigies present clenched their fists. They felt that they really had to seize the time to comprehend the Tao. The longer they delayed, the greater the gap between them in the future. Sundome, it's been a long time. King Flash stood between heaven and earth. His silver eyes were as frightening as lightning. He stared at Sundome and emitted layers of formless power. Oomph. Sundome snorted coldly. His golden eyes met with King Flash's. It was as if two blazing suns were emitting a terrifying power of the heavens. Just like that, the two invincible young paragons confronted each other. The vast pure land trembled slightly. It was as if a destructive tide was surging, filling half of the pure land. The moment the formless power released by them collided with each other, the pure land emitted a dull sound. Without a doubt, if the pure land did not have a peerless foundation to protect it, it would have shattered and exploded into ashes. Even when they confronted each other, their power increased. The sound of scriptures chanting resounded through heaven and earth. It was as if two divine kings were chanting scriptures here. Sundome's power was once again magnificent. The 9 suns in his eyes were faintly discernible. The aura of the great Tao was like the sea, filled with the power to burn the world. At this moment, the quasi-Tao cultivators present felt like they were about to burn themselves. Because the scriptures contained a kind of magical power, they could not help but sink into it and lose their minds. Honglong. As for the Lightning King's ferocious might, it wasn't inferior to his, and a vast sea of lightning appeared behind him. Bolts of lightning gushed out one after another before finally forming a vast sea of lightning, and its might was naturally, boundlessly terrifying. These were the young paragons of 2 of the most powerful ancient life stars. When their powers soared to the peak, the future would be too terrifying. It was as if the heavens were about to split open, the sun and moon were about to fall. The sound of scriptures was deafening. It was as if 2 great ancient life stars were about to collide. Su Yin was shocked. They didn't dare to say that they could only suppress them. The paragons of the most powerful ancient life stars were truly no small matter. I can't take it anymore. Someone cried out in fear. In front of this formless, intimidating power, it was as if they were about to shatter. Many of the younger generation found it difficult to bear. The strong and the weak could also be seen. Shuiguan's aura could devour rivers and mountains. The dragon and phoenix surrounded him. Although the difference between his power and the Sundome and King Flash's was not small, it was not to the extent that he would be suppressed to the point where he lost his brilliance. Shuiguan, on the other hand, was staring at Xia Kunlun. He found that Su Yin was as steady as an ancient mountain. He stood tall in the void, and his aura became increasingly terrifying. He was like a star that was about to rush into the blue dome of heaven. Moo! Taidaniu let out a muffled roar. His aura was completely different. His essence blood surged. The moment he spat it out, the surroundings undulated and crushed the formless domain. Yin was calm and unperturbed. It was as if she was standing on top of a snowy domain without a speck of dust. Her snow-white skin rippled with holy light and was not disturbed at all. Zuyang's appearance was more powerful. His constitution was extremely strong, as vast and profound as the blue dome of heaven. The moment his peerless foundation erupted, his essence blood overflowed everywhere. He had dug himself into the indestructible blue dome of heaven. If Su Yin was here, he would probably be directly suppressed to the point where he couldn't move. Meng Ying thought to himself, Yin will also seriously weigh the situation after seeing this. There are even peerless geniuses in the universe who are stronger than the Sun Dome and King Flash. I believe she will understand her own position and make a good decision. Dao brothers, is there anything that our Z-Wei Pure Land has not done well in our hospitality? Saintess Z-Wei walked over with a smile. The young people here were naturally looking forward to a battle between them to see who was stronger and who was weaker. This kind of battle was extremely rare. Saintess, you must be joking. King Flash laughed and withdrew his aura. Sun Dome also withdrew his aura. After all, this was the Z-Wei Pure Land. It would not be good to rashly use force here. Then I'm relieved. Since the two of you have come from the outside, I wonder what is going on outside? Saintess Z-Wei smiled and said, now that King Flash and Sun Dome were here, she even noticed that there were many young Ingjia outside the Z-Wei Pure Land. They were showing their identities and would probably enter the Z-Wei Pure Land soon. Everyone was surprised. Even if the Great Moon Saint physique was amazing, such a situation would not occur. I'm afraid they are here for the Dao grounds. Chapter 4:13. The Crepe Myrtle Pure Land became more and more lively. The famous clans and peak forces in the universe had all sent some young geniuses, and almost all of them were in the Quasi-Dao realm. Su Yin even discovered that many young people were about to enter the Great Dao realm, which surprised him. This meant that the top geniuses of the various clans had all come. Could it be that they had come for some treasure land? Or was the divine spiritual mountain range really about to open? I'm accumulating. The hurdle of the Great Dao realm is not difficult for me. Someone's words were shocking. That was the hurdle of the Great Dao realm. These people were more or less familiar with each other, and they gathered together to chat. Su Yin was not curious about their words. In the past, Su Daolong had told Su Yin not to be in a hurry to enter the Great Dao realm. This was the most important mystery realm for cultivation. There were also differences in comprehension. The more profound one's comprehension was, the higher one's achievements in the Great Dao realm would be in the future. Some cultivators would stay in the Quasi-Dao realm for dozens of years, or even hundreds of years. When they were about to break through, they would even choose a dojo. The best choice was definitely to become a paragon of the Star Domain and obtain the recognition of the Star Domain's Great Dao imprint. Take the 10 strongest ancient planets as an example. Their paragons were the strongest because the help the Star Domain's Great Dao gave them was too terrifying. It was equivalent to comprehending a part of the universe's Dao. This was how terrifying the Dao Ascension ceremony was. If one could not obtain this opportunity, then they would choose a higher-ranked Star Domain or obtain a precious Great Dao imprint, such as the Divine King's imprint or the God Spirit's imprint. Of course, the most shocking thing was the imprint of a major figure. Once one obtained this imprint, it was rumored that they would not be inferior to the strongest paragon of the Star Domain. They might even be on par with them. In short, even if someone could cross the hurdle of comprehension, they would not be in a hurry. They would choose a supreme dojo to break through and merge with the Great Dao of heaven and earth. Now, a large number of Quasi-Dao cultivators had gathered in the Crepe Myrtle Pure Land. Su Yin guessed that they were probably here for the Divine Spiritual Mountain Range. After all, the Divine Spiritual Mountain Range was known as the Dojo of the Gods. If the Divine Spiritual Mountain Range could really be opened, the disciples of the various clans would probably head there and choose to achieve Dao there. They're all here. This place was in an uproar because the great figures who were fighting outside had entered the purple myrtle pure land. Su Yan even saw Zhu Wenxiao. As expected, even Vice Sect Master Meng Feng wouldn't really fight against them. One after another, godly spirits arrived at the Z-Wei Pure Land. The terrifying energy waves caused the entire place to feel heavy. None of the cultivators dared to breathe loudly. The aura of the deities came one after another, and the younger generation felt suffocated. Even King Flash and the others had to restrain their auras, not daring to cross the line. Deities were indeed deities. They were high and mighty, and they were truly world-shaking. Will the Divine Mountain Range really open? Wu Hong and the others were very concerned about this matter. Although it was a bit sudden, the God Spirit Mountain that had been sealed for an entire universe epic should have been open by now, right? It said that someone sold the information to the various peak forces. When they came to investigate, they bumped into each other. Only then did they realize that they had been tricked. Someone sold the information to the various peak forces. Who dares to do this? Have you found anything? There's not a single clue. According to what I know, it was a deity who personally sold the information. There's a huge force behind it. That's incredible. However, my clan passed down a message that the God Spirit Mountain Range might really open. They even asked us to prepare in advance. There were many discussions here. Their backgrounds were not small, but they were all speechless about the matter of tricking the various peak forces. They were really not afraid of the matter blowing up. If they were found out, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was equivalent to offending the various peak forces. Saintus, when will the ancient Tao Rite open? Someone asked. Most of the cultivators were astonished. What kind of place was the ancient Tao Rite? However, Zhu Yong and the others walked over. They all had shocking backgrounds, and they were very clear about the ancient Tao Rite. Their goal this time was also the ancient Tao Rite. What ancient Tao Rite? Tai Gongji was astonished. He immediately transmitted his voice. Pay close attention. I've heard some secret news. There's a secret realm in the Z-Wei Pure Land that is related to the Great Tao Mountain. Su Yan's pupils constricted. He was a bit shocked. That was one of the 9 great heavenly mountains, the Great Tao Mountain. The ancient Tao Rite has a long history. It's strange that you don't know about it. A genius from the Yao domain explained. In the ancient era of the universe, the God Spirit Mountain Range was known as the Tao Rite of the Gods. The bipolar star was also known as the ancient star of life with great potential. However, this place is still under the jurisdiction of the Z-Wei sect. It's even the origin of their second ancestral land. Some people say that the origin of the second ancestral land is related to the ancient Tao Rite. The surrounding people were speechless. This was a great background. What kind of power was the Z-Wei sect? The ancient Tao Rite was related to their second ancestral land. This was a terrifying matter. To be known as the second ancestral land, its effects naturally surpassed the top Tao Rites. How many of these Tao Rites could be found in the entire universe? The ancient Tao Rite is equivalent to a part of the God Spirit Mountain Range. Although the God Spirit Mountain Range is now a forbidden area, the ancient Tao Rite is not. Rumor has it that this is a holy land for enlightenment. Only quasi-Tao realm cultivators can enter. As for those who have comprehended the great Tao, they can't obtain anything. The surrounding people discussed animatedly. Su Yin secretly inquired for information. With his identity, he could ask for many secrets. The ancient Tao Rite could be said to be the most powerful treasure land of the Z-Wei sect. Every time the ancient Tao Rite appeared, all the great sects would rush over and send their most outstanding disciples in. After all, it was a part of the God Spirit Mountain Range. Who didn't want to enter and comprehend the great Tao? There were records of people who succeeded and went very far in the future. They all entered the domain of almighty beings. The words they left behind were related to the influence of the ancient Tao Rite. From then on, the ancient Tao Rite's fame spread far and wide. Even almighty beings came out. Although the probability wasn't high, it was enough to prove the value of the ancient Tao Rite. The Z-Wei sect was also forced to open it to the outside world. However, It only opened once every 10,000 years. A rare great Tao right land that opened once in 1,000 years. Almighty beings had come out before, so its value was shocking. Zhu Yong and the others also came for the ancient Tao right. It's true. It's this secret realm. Tai Gong Ji transmitted his voice excitedly. The ancient Tao right that is related to the great Tao mountain, it's not surprising for almighty beings to come out. Rumor has it that the great Tao mountain recorded the most terrifying Tao fruits in the world. Although it's only a part of the great Tao mountain, its value is hard to measure. It's worth a trip. Moreover, the blood of the burial region flows in your body. You might get a great opportunity. Su Yin was moved. The third celestial mountain, the great Tao mountain. He really didn't know what he would encounter. With his identity, he wanted to enter the ancient Tao, right? The Ziwei sect probably wouldn't stop him. The ancient Tao, right, wasn't open to all forces. Every time it opened, only a few cultivators would enter. It wouldn't exceed a few thousand. I wonder if the great forces will join hands to open the God Spirit Mountain Range. Will they give up their spots? They should. It's said that the God Spirit Mountain Range is a world of its own. The great forces can't use it all, right? Someone noticed that in the depths of the Z-Way sect's pure land, the experts of the great forces were having a discussion. They all wanted to fight for their rights. No one could monopolize such a place of fortune, and it might not even be limited to them. Even the great clans couldn't sit still. The Z-Way sect's pure land was bustling with noise and excitement. Clouds and mist were rolling, birds were chirping, flowers were fragrant, and the sound of zither was pleasant. The elders of the Z-Way sect walked over and warmly welcomed them. They set up a banquet with all kinds of precious spirit fruits, rare delicacies, and fine wines on the jade table. The younger generation were all talking about the God Spirit Mountain Range. The scene was very lively. There were also some young people walking towards Yi Si Yun's seat with adoration and toasting to her. There's sure a lot of suitors. Su Yin murmured in his heart. The drunk-tide Dainyu had arrived. His bright golden body was in excellent condition. He seemed to be the legendary golden iron bull. People often paid attention to him, and there were even geniuses from the demon region who wanted to know Tide Dainyu's identity. Be careful of the woman being kidnapped. We should keep the goodies within the family. Tide Dainyu transmitted his voice. Now that the banquet was being held here, no one would pay attention to them. Who is that old man beside you? Su Yin transmitted his voice and asked. Damn it, just mentioning him makes me angry. Tai Baokai transmitted his voice and said angrily. This old bull insisted that I was his relative, the lost golden iron bull. Who am I? Who dares to be my senior? He is the golden iron bull? Su Yin was astonished and transmitted his voice. Where did that man run off to? He should be from the golden iron bull bloodline. Tai Baokai lowered his voice and transmitted his voice. Who knows where he ran off to? This race is a little special. I heard that they do not get along well with the demon region. I can't stay here for too long, and I don't know if that old bull will let me go. Do you have a bloodline in your body? Su Yin transmitted his voice and asked, How strong is that old man? It is not safe for us to stay here. Don't worry, if something happens, he will definitely protect me. Tai Baokai continued to transmit his voice. What did you experience in the Devil Fog domain? The way back. Su Yan's words almost made Tai Dainyu fall to the ground. His breath reeked of alcohol, and he was scared out his wits. The way back. From the Devil Fog domain back to Earth. But this is very difficult. I don't have any coordinates. Where is teacher Yuan? Su Yan asked. He is very safe. He is in seclusion in Dual Polarity City. Tai Baokai was shocked. What coordinates do you need? What is the situation with the Burial Realm bloodline? What did you encounter during this period of time? Tell me quickly. Su Yan did not say too much. He only stated that Earth was very important and must not be leaked out. Otherwise, it would cause a disaster. Tai Baokai was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. They were from the Burial Realm bloodline? This matter was too big. Once it was leaked out, they would definitely be hunted down all over the world. Motherf asterisk her. Tai Baotsai's golden forehead was drenched in cold sweat. He wiped it with his hooves and transmitted his voice. I only know that Earth is the Emperor's progenitor, but I didn't expect Earth to be related to the burial realm bloodline. This matter is too big. You should quickly contact EC Yun and tell her not to leak any information. Otherwise, we will face a calamity. Who knows, maybe the Ancestral Hall will launch a terrifying attack against us. It might even threaten the entire Earth. Su Yin was naturally clear, but now was not the time. EC Yin was currently in the limelight. He could not chat too much with EC Yin. After the banquet, make a trip to Dual Polarity City and give these things to teacher Yi Yuan. Su Yin gave him a sealed jade cauldron. Tai Baotsai's eyes immediately turned red as he said greedily, "One must be honest. The purple sun Dao, right, is our family's treasury. Brat, we are all family. Quickly take it out and divide it evenly. Don't go against your conscience, and keep it for yourself." Su Yin wanted nothing more than to kick him away. He transmitted his voice unhappily. "There are some precious treasured liquids inside. It should be enough for you to use. Also, don't let that backer of yours go. I don't know what will happen during this period of time. I want to go to the ancient Dao, right, to take a look. Who knows? He might be able to support us at a critical moment." Chapter 414. I'm here for the ancient Dao, right? That Taoist said so. Tai Baokai secretly transmitted his voice. This ancient Dao, right, has a great origin. Maybe you can find some good fortune there. When it opens, you can sneak in and take a look. Hearing this, Su Yin had a bright idea. He transmitted his voice. Find a way to let teacher Yi Yuan sneak in. This place might be related to the buried region. It said that this ancient Dao, right, has influenced those who have stepped into the domain of almighty beings. The inheritance inside must be extraordinary. What kind of existence were almighty beings? They were even more terrifying than the Divine King. They were the pinnacle powerhouses of the universe, incomparable giants. Who is Xia Kunlun? Stand out and let me take a look. Have you grown 3 heads and 6 arms? The lively banquet was suddenly shaken by a piercing voice. Some wine jugs toppled over, spilling wine all over the floor. The entire banquet hall suddenly fell silent. But some people felt a chill run down their backs. They felt a cold wind blow behind their heads, as if a palm was slapping them. They were terrified and quickly put up a defense. Meng Ying's face was stiff. The Crepe Myrtle sect was the host of this banquet. Who would dare to cause trouble here? Was Xia Kunlun a normal person? Even Hitorigami was killed by him in 3 punches. Some cultivators in the banquet looked at Xia Kunlun. Although this person's origins were mysterious, his combat strength was not to be underestimated. The news of him killing Hitorigami with 3 punches had already spread. Even now, no one knew what kind of cultivation he practiced. Dark underworld lineage. When their eyes focused on the source, they saw a billowing cold wind sweep over. It was as if a corner of purgatory had been lifted, revealing a vicious fluctuation. It was the complete opposite of the sacred aura present. This was undoubtedly the dark underworld lineage. Who are you? Su Yin suddenly stood up and shouted loudly. His tongue was like a thunderclap, causing golden ripples to vibrate between the heavens and the earth. With a whoosh, it dispersed the chilly wind that filled the sky. It was like the sound of thunder in the night sky. This shout was incomparably vigorous and shook the heavens and the earth. The space twisted and distorted. Shadows with powerful auras walked out one after another. There were 2 men and 1 woman. Their faces were pale and their skin was golden. They had cultivated the Vajra indestructible body and released a powerful deterrent force. Their faces were cold as they walked over. Every move they made was filled with power that could topple mountains and overturn seas. The 3rd Ingjia of the Umbra lineage has mastered the indestructible diamond body. Everyone present was shocked. First of all, this type of battle constitution was extremely difficult to cultivate, but now 3 of them had walked out at once. Could it be that the hidden geniuses of the underworld branch were coming out? You are Xia Kunlun. A man spoke, his eyes exuding a cold, killing intent. He stared at Su Yin and shouted, "You've got guts. You even dared to kill Hitorigami, a subordinate of Yin Xian. Even if you are the disciple of a mighty figure, you still have to account for this matter. That's easy. Su Yin waved at him and said, "Come here. I'll give you an explanation. You want me to go over?" Yin Qixing's eyes turned cold. His chi suddenly became terrifying. The diamond body was recovering, and it was blazing. The source of his power was like a huge black ripple. His body seemed to be made of divine iron, indestructible. "Impudent," Meng Ying said with a cold face. "The Crepe Myrtle Pure Land is an important place. How can we allow you to fight here?" "Grand Elder, this has nothing to do with me," Su Yin said coldly. "Someone came and provoked me. I can't pretend that I didn't see it." "Is the Crepe Myrtle Pure Land going to protect him?" Yin Qixing said with a gloomy face. "When Yin Xian's Hitorigami died, why didn't you do anything? Now you're asking me about it." "Oof." Zhu Sheng suddenly stood up and defended Su Yin. "Yin Qixing, that Hitorigami is too arrogant. And Yinlun, he even asked Brother Kunlun to kneel and kowtow to him? How laughable. Who would have thought that Hitorigami would be killed by Brother Kunlun in 3 punches during the battle?" Everyone wanted to laugh, but couldn't. After all, Hitorigami was very strong, but being killed by Xia Kunlun in 3 punches caused quite a stir. "Shut up." Yin Qixing's face turned gloomy. He didn't want to fight with Zhu Sheng, so he stared at Su Yin and shouted, "Do you dare to fight me? Stop dilly-dallying. If you want to fight, then get over here." Su Yin opened his eyes wide and waved his hand at him. "Come, don't you want to talk?" "Bastard." Yin Qixing rushed forward and unleashed his aura. His golden body was like an indestructible battle physique, surging with surging energy as he threw a punch forward, causing the void to tremble. "Your strength is not bad, but your speed is too slow." Everyone thought this was a peak battle. They didn't expect Xia Kunlun to control the world with a single slap. It was as if he had grasped a small world. "Dao brother, please don't hurt him." Saintess Zi Wei's expression changed as she transmitted her voice. Could he be? Xian watched all of this. She couldn't believe that Xia Kunlun was Su Yin. Only a few years had passed. Su Yin was still a little Dao Gate cultivator. Could he have grown to the same level as the geniuses of the peak factions? "Xia Kunlun, I underestimated him. This person's battle strength is not weak. I wonder how strong he is when he only used his physical strength." Even Zhu Yang's pupils constricted slightly. This palm enveloped the entire universe, and an astonishing power surged forth. It crushed down in all directions and suppressed Zhu Yang's Vajra body. Even the tough diamond body seemed to be shattered by this slap. How is this possible? Yin Qixing's expression was ugly. He was also a genius of the Umbra lineage. Although he wasn't ranked in the top 3, he had cultivated the diamond body. However, he felt like he was being suppressed by Su Yin. Wasn't this person too strong? Even when he fought with Su Yin, he could clearly feel that Su Yin was using his physical strength. This made Yin Qixing a little frightened. Just how monstrous was this Xia Kunlun's physical body? At this moment, a terrifying airflow swept over. It was like a black path, sweeping through the sky with turbulent airwaves. "Who is it? Stop!" The Crepe Myrtle sect elder's expression changed. Just as he was about to attack, he found that the aura was quite terrifying. It descended from the sky and filled the area where Su Yin was. The divine power he erupted with was shattered, and a palm slammed down towards Xia Kunlun. Meng Ying sucked in a breath of cold air. This was definitely a peak domain expert. Just this kind of power was enough to make all the heroes pale in comparison. Could it be that a star domain supreme expert had come? The person who attacked was quite powerful. With a single palm, he wanted to suppress Xia Kunlun to the ground. One could imagine how powerful he was. "Ha ha ha, you're dead meat." Yin Qixing laughed. "Even the disciple of a supreme expert is not enough to fight with my Umbra lineage." The giant palm descended from the sky like an ancient divine mountain, attracting the attention of King Flash and Sun Dome. "Come out, I'll kill you." Xia Kunlun was also infuriated. Shocking energy waves were brewing in his body, as if a sleeping god was being unsealed. The rippling energy waves seemed to be able to make the pure land collapse. This was the release of the dragon totem's aura, causing Ming Ying and the others to pale. They all felt like they were about to shatter. F***CK. Some people's faces darkened. He had taken out his treasures without saying a word. This was too rich. Stop! A berating voice exploded, rumbling like a tsunami, intimidating everyone. It was definitely a major figure from the Crepe Myrtle sect. A hazy shadow of chaotic light appeared in the depths. His eyes were burning with anger as he shouted, "Is it your turn to behave atrociously here? Senior, please don't take offense." A shadow with a sharp aura appeared in the void. It was as if the young divine king had his back facing everyone. Although he was apologizing, the killing intent emitted from his eyes was not concealed at all. His eyes stared at Su Yin, revealing a terrifying killing intent. "It's Yin." The surrounding people paled. They did not expect Yin to really come and even attack Xia Kunlun just now. Hamba is his general, so I'm not surprised that he came. I didn't expect Xia Kunlun to not be at the Great Dao Realm and still be at the Quasi-Dao Realm. He can't defeat Yin at all. Many people were discussing. "Brat, you dare to sneak attack me?" Su Yan's aura was very strong, and the dragon totem was about to revolve around his body. He pointed at Yin and shouted, "Come here, I'll destroy you." Yin's aura became terrifying again. Even if a major figure from the Crepe Myrtle sect was here, he was not afraid. After all, he was a young supreme being from a peak faction. His physical body was incomparably powerful, and he dominated the various galaxies. Without a doubt, Yin was also a great Dao realm cultivator. "Impudent. If you don't stop, don't blame me for beating you out." The major figure from the Crepe Myrtle sect had a grim expression. No matter what, they were still two juniors. If they fought here and caused too much of a commotion, wouldn't the various experts who were having a meeting laugh at them? Yin's expression sank slightly. Fighting here was not a small matter. "Brother Yin, we're just here for a chat. There's no need to make such a big fuss." King Flash spoke. His tone was calm, and he did not look at Xia Kunlun. To him, those who were not of the same generation were not worth conversing with. The identity of a major figure's disciple was nothing to King Flash and Sun Dome. "That's true." Yin retracted his aura. "I won't bully the weak. I'll let you live for a few more days. Don't think that just because you're a major figure's disciple, you can act unbridled in the universe. Don't think that just because you ate your father's flesh, you can speak with such a shameless tone." Xia Kunlun's words almost made Yin explode with anger. No matter how good his mentality was, he could not bear such words. He hated it when people mentioned this sentence the most. Back then, his father had been killed by the old leader of the Burial Region bloodline. This matter was also a pain in his heart. The surrounding people were also silent. He dared to say this? "I'm tired of eating the blood of the Burial Region bloodline. It seems like I really have to change my taste." Yin's eyes bloomed with killing intent. He suppressed the anger of sacrificing Su Yin and said coldly, "Xia Kunlun, we'll see." Bao Cai's eyes widened, and he was in a bad mood. Chapter 415. King Flash, Yin, and Sun Dome. The three of them represented the three pinnacle forces of the universe. They were the supreme beings of the younger generation, and each of them had monstrous battle prowess. In the future, they would definitely be one of the main characters contending for hegemony. The three of them are really impressive. The older generation were all watching from the sidelines. This was a rarely seen distinguished meeting. The three young supreme beings who were like suns in the sky were gathered, making the younger generation here all pale in comparison. There were some geniuses who sighed, feeling that the disparity between them and themselves was a bit too great. Without comprehending the Tao, one would never become an expert, and one's future achievements would be limited. No matter how outstanding one's performance in the Quasi-Dao realm was, as long as one didn't comprehend the Tao, one would never reach such heights. Now, the younger generation of the various forces were all accumulating their resources, waiting for the day when they would soar. This ancient Tao, right, was the best choice. It had once produced a supreme being, and if they had the opportunity to obtain some benefits, they would definitely be valued by the clan. After all, the Holy Lands were too difficult to find. The most crucial step in entering the Great Tao realm was to control how strong the power of the Great Tao was. For example, Yang Xiong, the star domain paragon of the 9 Yang star zone, had grown with the Great Tao of the strongest ancient star. His future path had already been determined. This was a golden path, and given enough time, he would be able to rise up. Therefore, the top 10 forces were always strong. After the disturbance just now, the elites of the various large clans started to observe, as if they wanted to distance themselves from Xia Kunlun. It was obvious that even a living supreme being couldn't threaten the dark underworld lineage. The clan had been floating in the universe for a long time, and many supreme beings had emerged. They didn't lack resources. Even if a supreme being occupied the clan's territory, he wouldn't be able to break through the dark underworld lineage, and might even be forced away. For example, Yin Xian was a supreme genius, a future supreme being who could make the dark underworld lineage spend a large amount of money to purchase the dragon transformation fruit. It was obvious that Yin Xian's status in the clan was high. They didn't think that Xia Kunlun could defeat Yin Xian. The key was that the dark underworld lineage's resources were unfathomable. They controlled all kinds of treasured lands and Tao rights. They didn't lack Tao enlightenment holy lands. Although they didn't lack supreme beings, compared to the great Tao imprint of the strongest ancient planet, there was still a huge gap. Haha, that's all there is to it. In this vast universe, other than the top 10 forces, all other orthodoxies and inheritances are overshadowed by our top 10 forces. They are destined to become foils. Seeing that Su Yin was about to be isolated, Yin Qixing shook his head and sneered. The difference was too big. Yin Xian's arrival caused the members of the various sects and clans to walk up and toast him respectfully. On the other hand, Su Yan's side had very few people. Clearly, they did not want to offend Yin Xian, nor did they agree that Xia Kunlun had the same combat strength as Yin Xian. After all, anyone could see that Xia Kunlun was still at the Quasi-Dao realm from the confrontation just now. I'll be leaving first. Tai Dainyu sneaked away and prepared to return to Twin Polarity City to see if he could sneak in with the Yuan. At this time, Zhu Yon walked over with a group of people. They were all the younger generation disciples of the Ancestral Hall. They were more or less related to Zhu Jiwen and the others who Su Yin had killed in the Purple Sun Daoist rite. They spoke with hatred and asked Xia Kunlun about Su Yan's whereabouts. The Ancestral Hall had gone crazy looking for him, but there was not a single trace of him in the entire world. Even after offering a divine tool as a reward, they still couldn't find a single clue. With Zhu Sheng testifying for Su Yin, his words were filled with gratitude. He said that Xia Kunlun should be recuperating and didn't know much. Will they be suspicious of me? Su Yin said in his heart. He began to be vigilant. Now that the experts of the Ancestral Hall were busy with the matter of the Divine Mountain Range, he reckoned that Zhu Wenxiong would personally come to interrogate him after this matter was concluded. At that time, it would be difficult to easily brush them off. I can't use this identity anymore. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. Su Yin became vigilant. Fortunately, he didn't kill Zhu Sheng back then. With him exonerating himself, the younger generation of the Ancestral Hall wouldn't suspect Xia Kunlun's identity too much. The gathering didn't last for long. When Yin left, they were more concerned about the opening of the ancient Tao rite. The Purple Myrtle Pure Land had also prepared a place for them to stay for the time being. Now, a group of peak experts were having a discussion. Moreover, the matter of the twin polarity star had been spread out, causing a huge uproar. It wouldn't take long for the news to spread throughout the starry seas. Could it be that the Divine Mountain Range is about to open? The entire world was paying attention to this place. It was known as the Divine Mountain Tao right during the ancient universe era. It had been a forbidden zone for an entire universe era. If it was really going to open, then it would be the birth of a boundless land of treasures. Even if the environment didn't change, it would be a blessing for the younger generation. I'm not sure. The aristocratic families that received the news have already sent experts to the twin polarity star to investigate. This is going to be lively. If the Divine Mountain Range is really going to open, who knows how many geniuses of the younger generation will be born. Now is the crucial time for the younger generation to enter the Grandau realm. The appearance of the Divine Mountain Range will drive the younger generation crazy. That's right. That is a land of Tao verification. Every generation has been occupied by a powerful expert, leaving behind an indelible mark. Those young geniuses who can obtain a Star Domain Great Tao imprint can definitely enter the Divine Mountain Range to comprehend the Great Tao. The universe was bustling with activity. Some capable aristocratic families had already sent out their old ancestors to fight for some spots for their disciples. If the Divine Mountain Range was really going to open, it wouldn't be open to the public. It would definitely be controlled by the various peak forces. Therefore, all the major forces were anxious and hoped to get a share of the profits. After all, this was a land of boundless treasures waiting to be excavated. The Purple Myrtle Pure Land was no longer peaceful. Experts would frequently arrive from the outside. All sorts of terrifying auras filled the air, causing the entire Pure Land to be filled with an oppressive aura. The situation was a bit chaotic. Su Yin sat cross-legged in a courtyard with his back facing the house. He looked outside and could feel that the frequent arrivals were not to be underestimated. The more it was like this, the calmer Su Yin became. His state of mind was clear, and he wouldn't reveal his identity in a short period of time. Su Yin wanted to meet E.C. Yun and understand the ancient Tao rite. He wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Wong, auspicious clouds bloomed from his forehead. A pearl floating in his sea of consciousness glowed. This was the Pearl of Great Tao. Su Yin, who had the Pearl of Great Tao, had an unusually sharp perception. With the help of the Pearl of Great Tao, Su Yan's understanding of the Great Tao of heaven and earth became even clearer. The Pearl of Great Tao was a treasure for comprehending the Great Tao. With the help of such an item, the chances of comprehending the Great Tao were very high. This was especially true for those from the Transcendence realm to the Quasi-Tao realm. It could play a crucial role. Tao sounds resonated in his body. At the moment of the initial sutra, Su Yin turned into a heavenly cauldron surrounded by the light of the Great Tao. His aura was sacred and dignified. Suddenly, Su Yin felt as if he had become one with the heavens and earth. He had touched the power of the Great Tao. This was the effect of the second ancestral land of the Crepe Myrtle sect. It made it easier for one to comprehend the Great Tao. He seemed to have become a part of the heavens and earth. As he comprehended the aura of the Great Tao, his entire body and mind were magnified infinitely. He seemed to have seen a second world. This world seemed a little small, and all living things were like ants. Under this magical power of the Great Tao, everything seemed to be vulnerable and could even be shattered and reforged. This was the power of the Great Tao. It was majestic and unpredictable. Su Yan's comprehension reached a very deep level. The fire of the heavenly cauldron of the Great Tao burned even more fiercely and violently. Su Yan had a feeling that his body was one with the heavens and earth. He had a tendency to merge with the Great Tao. He wanted to obtain a kind of energy that could break the current limit and obtain an even stronger power. Boom! When Su Yan's comprehension of the Great Tao reached a critical moment, the sound of thunder rang in his ears. It was as if he saw terrifying suns burning one after another, burning the sky. It was terrifying to the extreme. Who is it? Some cultivators who had been cultivating diligently were very angry. Even the fluctuations of the Great Battle were very violent. It spread throughout the entire Outer Pure Land. There were also deafening roars that shook the heavens. I really have to thank them. Su Yan's eyes suddenly opened. Just now, he had almost entered the Quasi-Tao realm. However, this was not the Tao that Su Yin was pursuing. It was obvious that the Great Tao that Su Yin had comprehended just now was a little weaker than the Great Tao power that the Sun Dome was releasing now. Su Yin looked and saw the 9 heavenly suns arranged in the sky. It was as if they had turned into a condensed 9 suns galaxy. They exuded a terrifying aura. At this moment, the Sun Dome could be said to be the overlord of the world. His roar could shake the mountains and rivers. He was fighting against a heavenly rock with a terrifying aura. He was like a demon. His roar could shake the stars in the sky. Without a doubt, this was a peerless genius of the demon region, the right-hand man of the North Demon. Comprehending the great Tao is not easy. Su Yan's face was solemn. He felt the importance of this. This was because it was related to the environment. It was very important. This is what Grandpa DeLong said. The environment has changed. Even the initial scripture can't be used to its limit. Su Yan thought. The current era was the most glorious era of the burial region. 1,000,000 years had passed. The environment of the universe had changed. Of course, the most important thing was that this was not a peerless Tao field or a rare celestial land. Therefore, the Tao that Su Yan comprehended had merged with it and merged with the Tao. It was impossible to cultivate to the level of the Sun Dome's domain. It was even weaker than the lower star regions. No wonder the title of Star Region Supreme was so coveted. In the process of entering the great Tao, one had to merge with the world. This meant that the cultivation environment was very important. Once one entered the great Tao realm rashly, one's future achievements would be limited. Of course, there was still room for improvement from the quasi-Tao realm to the great Tao realm. However, it was impossible to casually find a place to cultivate and comprehend the great Tao. After all, this was only the outer region of the Ziwei Pure Land. Su Yan's heart was restless. He wondered if he could obtain the great Tao imprints of the other star regions. Even if he entered the quasi-Tao realm, he could lay down the foundation in the process of merging with the Tao. Who is it? While Su Yan was thinking, he raised his head and looked ahead. In the courtyard, where birds chirped and flowers bloomed, clouds rolled. A slender woman walked over. Her steps were light and graceful. Her hair was black, and her snow-like dress fluttered in the wind. It was nighttime. The moonlight scattered down, making her look like a fairy from the Moon Palace. She looked at Su Yan with a cold expression. Su Yan stood up and looked at the woman standing proudly in front of him. He smiled and said, "Fairy, do you want to go home with me? Where did you come from?" Su Yan clenched her slender hands and walked toward him. Su Yan stood tall and straight. With his back to the house, he looked at her and said, "I came from the Snow Mountain. Where do you want to go?" Su Yan asked again. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and her temperament was cold. She was like a fairy from the Moon Palace. Her beauty was natural. "I'm here to bring you home." Chapter 416. The familiar face in front of her made Su Yan slightly absent-minded. Her emotions surged. Clear tears faintly flashed in her eyes, and a smile appeared on her snow-white cheeks. It could be said that her smile could topple a city. To Su Yan, Su Yan was the closest person in the world. Now that she saw him in perfect condition, even appearing in front of her, Su Yan was filled with excitement and flew towards Su Yan. Su Yan did not expect Su Yan to be so wild. She suddenly threw herself at Su Yan. Her snow-white arms wrapped around Su Yan's neck, and her slender long legs clamped around Su Yan's waist. Her two hands hugged tightly, and her longing was self-evident. Su was an ice beauty. She was cold and elegant, but she had never revealed such emotional fluctuations. Now, her passion was like a blazing flame that was about to engulf Su Yan. She lost control of her emotions. Back then on Earth, she thought that she had died. She did not expect to survive. This kind of life and death was like a kind of reincarnation. In the past, she was just trying to find a girl who had lost her youth. She was pitiful and helpless. Although she came to Alcade Planet and found a way to recover her youth, in this life star field where she had no relatives, Su Yan was her closest person. The sudden separation made her uneasy. Even when she came to Crepe Myrtle's sect, it was difficult to feel a sense of belonging. It made it difficult for Su Yan to let go, and it was also difficult for her to calm down and cultivate. As she cultivated, Su's understanding of the universe increased. She also realized how cruel the universe was. Death was a very common occurrence. The universe was too vast, and there were countless living beings. Their numbers were uncountable. Su Yan could only cultivate desperately. Finally, she had enough strength to come out and find Su Yin. She did not expect that Su Yin would be standing in front of her, standing here. Her soft body was in his arms, and her body fragrance was intoxicating. Su Yin didn't know what to do. He stretched out his arms stiffly and hugged E.C. Yun's tiny waist. He sniffed E.C. Yun's unique body fragrance and felt that the world was very peaceful. It was as if the whole world had quietened down, and he could hear his own heartbeat. "What are you doing?" The sudden voice startled Su Yin. He looked at E.C. Yun's beautiful face. Her slightly reddened eyes were staring at him with a hint of rebuke. Suddenly, Su Yin realized that his palm was involuntarily supporting her round and perky buttocks. Su Yin was slightly absent-minded and couldn't help but pinch it. E.C. Yun was silent. She stared at him and tilted her head slightly. Cough. Su Yin immediately came back to his senses when he saw the other party's expression, which was as if he had been bullied. He asked awkwardly, "Whose is this?" "Puppies." E.C. Yun choked out. "E.C. Yun, I haven't seen you in a few years, and you've become more capable." Su Yin carried E.C. Yun and ran into the house. Like a gust of wind, the door closed with a bang. Incense burners curled up in spirals in the house. The whole building was made of precious wood and looked very comfortable. Su Yin carried E.C. Yun and ran inside. He looked around and breathed heavily. "What are you looking for?" E.C. Yun frowned slightly. Her red lips were bright, and her eyes were like limpid autumn water. She looked around with a puzzled gaze. "I'm looking for a bed," Su Yin replied. His eyes lit up when he saw a big sandalwood bed. "What are you doing?" E.C. Yin was a little flustered. Her eyes were evasive, and her heart was beating wildly. She was being carried by Su Yin, and her body was weak. "I'm taking a rest. I'm a little tired." Su Yin strode forward, causing E.C. to be speechless. Before she could open her mouth, Su Yin had already thrown her onto the bed and pounced on her, hugging her fiercely in his arms. At this moment, the whole world was quiet again. Su Yin hugged E.C. Yun and smelled her fragrance. His heart was beating very fast. "What are you doing?" E.C. Yun's breathing was a little hurried. Her cheeks were overflowing with fragrant sweat. She looked gorgeous and charming. Her skin was as white as snow, but now it was suffused with patches of blush. It was intoxicating. E.C. Yun had only had one male friend, Su Yin. However, the two of them had never been so intimate. Su Yin's actions made E.C. Yun very flustered. If the geniuses outside who were pursuing the sacred body of Taiyin saw this scene, they would probably want to chop Su Yin into minced meat. "What do you mean, what am I doing? Are you thinking about something dirty?" Su Yin replied righteously. "Do you want to make a move on me?" Su Yin hugged the jade body in his arms tightly. This was the first time he realized that the tall and slender E.C. Yun's body was so voluptuous and hot. He almost vomited blood. "What nonsense are you talking about?" E.C. Yun was embarrassed and angry. She glared at Su Yin and fiercely bit him. However, it was a little painful. Su Yin's body was very strong. The tyrannical strength of his body was like that of a true dragon. It was far superior to cultivators of the same level. Time passed bit by bit. The whole room was filled with a charming atmosphere. It was as if time had stopped. It was abnormally quiet. On this big sandalwood bed, a man and a woman were hugging each other tightly. It was like dry firewood and raging fire. What kind of broken bed is this? There isn't even a quilt. This is too degrading. After a long time, Su Yin cursed. E.C. Yun waved her fist and fiercely punched him. She angrily said, "Are you very hot? Do you want me to boil a basin of hot water for you?" "No need. Dry firewood and raging fire. How can it not be heated?" Su Yin was angry and didn't dare to do anything. "What are you thinking about?" E.C. struggled to break free. She flipped her body over and buried her head in the pillow. She had a shy look on her face. "I'm thinking about how I can take you away." Su Yin looked at the ceiling with bright eyes and relaxed. "You asked me to come back then, and now you want me to leave? Do you think it's that easy?" E.C. Yin snorted. She shrugged and said, "Also, how much trouble have you caused these years? How did you provoke the ancestral hall? I heard it's the strongest force in the universe." "It's a long story." Yin was silent for a while. He then smiled and said, I didn't expect the beauty of our Huaxiao alliance to have so many suitors. Look at the people outside. The line can reach outer space. Are you afraid that I'll stay in Crepe Myrtle's sect and not leave? Yin covered her head and said in a muffled voice, or are you worried that I'll find a man and settle down here? Both. Yin arched his body and his eyes scanned her tall and voluptuous body. After a while, he said, don't you know that there's a saying, don't let the goodies flow into the fields of others. You'd better be honest and tell me everything clearly. Yin gritted her teeth and said, what happened? I've been in seclusion in Crepe Myrtle's sect all these years. I don't know anything about the outside world. It's a long story. Yin asked, who did you take as your master? Did they ask about your background? My master is a very nice person. Yin pondered for a while and said, when I came to Crepe Myrtle's sect, the strong cultivators of Crepe Myrtle's sect all want to take me as their disciple. My master is the previous leader of Crepe Myrtle's sect. Although she doesn't have much lifespan left, she has great prestige in Crepe Myrtle's sect and accepted me as her disciple. All these years, she has been guiding my cultivation. The old leader really didn't care about my background. Yin was moved. The previous leader of Crepe Myrtle's sect was an incredible existence. She must be a famous, strong cultivator in the universe. However, the old leader's lifespan was already over 10,000 years. If it wasn't for Yun's arrival, she wouldn't have continued to come out. It's Saintess Crepe Myrtle who has been very concerned about my background. Yun said suspiciously, but she seems to be a good person. There's nothing wrong with her style in Crepe Myrtle's sect. She's highly regarded by the sect, and the disciples support her. She's also very warm to me. Be careful of this woman. She's very scheming and has been trying to kill me all these years. Yan's eyes flashed with coldness. This Saintess Crepe Myrtle treated Yun like a sister, but she has been plotting against him behind his back. Either she didn't want to give up her Saintess status, or she was jealous of Yun's talents. Yin really didn't know anything else. Like I said, I feel that she's a bit hypocritical. After all, we don't know each other, but she takes care of me a lot. After all, the sect said that I'm the future Saintess. I took away her identity and status. Yun immediately nodded and said, it seems that I need to be careful of her in the future. Her master is this generation's leader of Crepe Myrtle sect. She's a bit mysterious. Mysterious? Yin was shocked and asked, what do you mean? I feel that my master is very wary of sect leader Crepe Myrtle, as if he's on guard against her. This includes some of the high elders in the sect. Yin pondered for a while and said with a strange tone, also, I heard that the leader of Crepe Myrtle's sect is related to the ancient Dao shrine. Yan's expression changed greatly. The ancient Dao shrine opened once every 10,000 years. The current leader of Crepe Myrtle's sect couldn't be 10,000 years old, right? What is the origin of this ancient Dao shrine? Yin asked. It's hard to say. Yun slightly shook her head and continued. It's very difficult to find the origin of the ancient Dao shrine in the records. However, my master values it a lot and said that I must go when it opens. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come out of seclusion. The old leader wants me to cultivate to the Grand Dao realm before entering the secular world to cultivate. Your master is very good to you. Yin couldn't help but nod and say, since I'm here, I also want to take a look inside the ancient Dao shrine. It's said that it's a holy land for Dao comprehension. Hearing this, Yun slightly clenched her slender hands. She hesitated for a while and said, I feel that you're in a bad situation right now. Why don't you come with me to see the old leader? Maybe she can help you. Yin quickly refused. No, I'm in big trouble right now. You can't expose our relationship or you'll be implicated. To put it bluntly, even Crepe Myrtle sect won't be able to protect you. If the Ancestral Hall and the Umbra sect knew that Yun had the blood of the burial realm flowing in her body, the consequences would be severe. He didn't think that Crepe Myrtle sect would use all their resources to fight against the two top forces. However, the two top forces would definitely take action against Yun. After all, she had the sacred extreme body, a supreme physique that would threaten the two forces in the future. What did you do? Even Crepe Myrtle's sect can't protect you? E.C. Yun's expression changed. Her body trembled slightly. Even Crepe Myrtle's sect couldn't stop the storm. Su Yin had gotten himself into too much trouble. E.C. Yun felt a little suffocated. It's related to Earth, Su Yin said in a low voice. No matter when, don't reveal the origin of Earth. If you do, I'm worried that something big will happen and it will be fatal to our race. Since it's related to Earth, I must stand up. E.C. Yun gathered her courage and turned around. Her face was still shy. She looked at Su Yin and said seriously, I don't want to be a coward. However, the latter noticed that Su Yin had been staring in one direction. E.C. Yun was suspicious. She followed Su Yan's gaze and saw that her snow-white and slender legs were exposed under her dress. They were naked and exuded a seductive aura. E.C. Yun's face turned red. She was so angry that she ground her teeth. No, you must listen to me on this matter. Su Yin acted as if he had not seen anything. He looked at EC with a serious expression and said, even if you want to stand out, you have to cultivate to the great Dao realm first. Right now, we don't even have the ability to go against them head-on. We can't even catch up to the strongest expert of a younger generation. You might not be able to defeat me now. EC Yin raised her beautiful face like a proud swan. There was a faint energy leaking out from her body. It's time to show my special skills and rule my place in the family. Chapter 417. The energy in the room fluctuated, and on the big sandalwood bed, an erotic scene appeared. EC Yun's skin was whiter than snow, and her skin was as fair as jade. Although she looked like an ice beauty in front of others, on the big sandalwood bed, she was charming. Her proud figure was overflowing with light, and her snow-white skin rippled with holy radiance. She was like a fairy who had fallen into the mortal world. Her small waist twisted and turned like a divine phoenix awakening. However, no matter how strong Enisi's strength was, she was ruthlessly suppressed by Su Yan's overbearing strength. Damn it! EC Yin was angry, and she was trembling with anger. She realized that the strength she was so proud of couldn't stop Su Yan. Seeing that she was being taken advantage of, Su Yan's entire body was pressed against her curvy body. Enisi was embarrassed and angry. Her snow-white skin glowed. It was very hot, like a sun, surging with a vast lunar aura. In this aura, there was even a terrifying saintly aura awakening. EC Yun was like a saintess, and her body trembled with terrifying power. It was like a condensed extreme ocean was awakening. There was also a saintly aura that was extremely overbearing. This came from the potential of the extreme saint physique. Its strength was unimaginable, and its terrifying power was enough to threaten some quasi-Dao realm cultivators. There was no doubt that EC Yin hadn't cultivated to the quasi-Dao realm, but with her current potential, she was already strong enough. After all, she was nurtured by the old leader of the Crepe Myrtle sect, and he was willing to give her all kinds of resources. She even cultivated the immortal extreme in ancient scripture. You're rebelling. Su Yin laughed. EC Yin was strong, but she was still far from being able to face Su Yin. His four limbs seemed to have turned into the four poles of the universe, containing a divine aura that suppressed everything. He locked down the entire space and ruthlessly suppressed EC Yun's potential. Su Yin was also very surprised by EC Yun's strength. The gap between Zhu Ji1 and her was huge. She deserved to be called the sovereign physique, and her future growth was huge. EC felt a sense of helplessness in her heart. When she realized that Su Yan's hand was not obediently roaming around her body, EC punched him and said in embarrassment and anger, Stop trying to climb the tree. Behave yourself. I'm just seeing if you've lost weight. Su Yin looked up at her delicate face and laughed. I don't think so. I feel like I put on a lot of weight. Fat. EC was stunned. Other than having a special constitution, how could a cultivator be fat? However, when she sensed Su Yan's treacherous gaze, EC's pretty face turned slightly red. She understood what he meant. She lowered her head and said angrily, What nonsense are you saying? All right, let's get down to business. Su Yin turned over and hugged her in his arms. After pondering for a while, he sighed and said, "Some time ago, I met a senior from our Earth." "What?" Yin was stunned. Her heart was filled with disbelief. It was reasonable to say that Earth was an ancient planet that had just awakened. However, if it was really as Yin had said, then Earth had once had a god and devil civilization. It was probably very prosperous. Otherwise, why would it attract the attention of the ancestral hall? So our Earth belongs to the burial region. Yin understood. Yin was not a cultivator from the ancestral hall. If it was not because Yin had stepped into the Tao Gate realm and was proficient in the inheritance of the mystical gate, and even had the treasure given to him by Bamboo Moon, the consequences would have been unimaginable. It was very likely that their race would be enslaved or even wiped out. They are living a hard life. I want to help them, but I don't have the strength to do so. There was a trace of coldness in Yin's eyes. He stared at her and said word by word, "No matter what you choose in the future, I hope that you will be strong enough to return. I have a bad premonition." Yin's solemn expression made Yin roll her eyes. She said angrily, "I've already died once. What do I have to fear in the future? If it was not because the old sect master treated me well, I might have already left. Do you want to go home with me?" Yin suddenly stretched out his hand and caressed her face. Her skin was white and soft. It was like touching a hot spring. Yin's heartbeat quickened. Seeing her shy and embarrassed appearance, Yin's breathing was a little heavy as he said, "You once died for me. How do you think I should repay you?" Yin's action made Yin pinch him. She said angrily, "I'm warning you. This is the Z-Way Pure Land. You better stay here. My time is almost up. If I go out for too long, they will be suspicious." Hearing this, the heat in Yin's heart dissipated like the tide. He became alert and used his primordial spirit to check the surroundings. The entire residence was now covered by a formation. However, the Z-Way Pure Land was in chaos now. The incident at the godly spiritual mountain had spread to all the races. There would be experts from all the races coming to the Z-Way Pure Land to get a share. Therefore, the experts of the Z-Way Pure Land would not notice that the great moon saint physique that they were so proud of was lying on Yin's bed. "It's time for me to go." When Yin calmed his mind again, Yin was already standing in the room. Her clothes were fluttering in the wind, and her black hair was shining brightly. She had an innate cold temperament. "Okay." Yin was reluctant. He walked over and took out some bottles and jars for her. He said, "I don't know if these things are useful to you." Yin was surprised. She picked them up and inspected them. The things inside were not ordinary. There were all kinds of heavenly and earthly treasures. Many of them were limited resources, especially the treasures that Yin brought out from the Purple Sun Taoist ground. Even Yin was moved. After she finished reading, raised her head and looked at Yin. She smiled and said, "Not bad. I didn't expect you to be so rich now. Although I don't know the price of these things, only a peak faction can take out these things. It seems like it's useless." Yin shrugged and helplessly said, "There's no other way. Who told you to be the saintess of a great sect and have a great backer? You must have a lot of limited resources. You are a famous rich woman." However, Yin suddenly reached out and took out 6 fish. They were all very fresh. These were the yin-yang fish, a total of 6, 3 pairs. The effect of this item was amazing and could improve one's aptitude. It would certainly be very useful for Yin. Yin-yang fish. Was shocked. "You even have these things?" "I've eaten a pair before. These things are very rare in the crepe myrtle sect. The pair of yin-yang fish I ate was obtained by Master after a lot of effort. After all, she doesn't have much lifespan left, so her authority in the crepe myrtle sect is much lower. Master said before that although my physique has the ability to evolve into the great moon saint physique, I need all kinds of great supplements. I have eaten many good things in the past few years, but the yin-yang fish is the most effective." "How did you get so many of them?" Yun's eyes sparkled as she happily bid and took out 2. No matter how effective the yin-yang fish was, it would be useless if she ate too many of them. "It's good that they are useful to you." Su Yin had always been thinking about the Fish Kings in the Yin-Yang galaxy. If he stepped into the Great Tao realm one day, he would definitely enter the Yin-Yang galaxy again to search for the two Fish Kings. If he could suppress them, it would be a good fortune that even the mighty figures would be jealous of. "This is for you." Isi Yin took out a void pouch and handed it to Su Yin. She said, "There are some resources inside that are very rare. I have no use for them, so I'll give them all to you. Then I won't stand on ceremony." Su Yin laughed loudly. After opening the void pouch and inspecting it, he was moved. There were many good things inside, and there were even 10 jars of heaven and earth source serum. However, this thing's effect was a little weak for Su Yin. He might as well choose the purple treasure liquid. Teacher Yi Yuan should be able to use it. Su Yin mumbled to himself. They came from Earth, and the 4 of them were now considered to be reunited. He looked forward to the day when the 4 of them could return to Earth together. When they became stronger in the future, they could deal with the ancestral hall and the dark underworld lineage together. Su Yin was pleasantly surprised. He found a portion of the qi of the Great Tao inside. This was a rare item. It was a precious gas formed from the essence of the Great Tao. It would be of great help to Su Yin in cultivating the Great Tao heavenly furnace. He felt that when he merged with Tao and comprehended the power of the Great Tao of heaven and earth, he would be able to cultivate the Great Tao heavenly furnace to a certain level. At that time, with the help of the Force Armor, it would be very different. Su Yin looked forward to gaining something from the ancient Tao field. Although Su Yin could be considered a quasi-Tao realm cultivator now, this was the source of power derived from his physical body. The human body was a treasure trove. Mastering the Great Tao of heaven and earth would definitely make Su Yin even more powerful. Perhaps the Great Tao heavenly furnace he cultivated would not be inferior to the Great Tao body of a Great Tao realm cultivator. It seems like I have to hurry and master the power of the Great Tao of heaven and earth. This way, my chances of survival in the universe will be greatly increased. The key is still the immortal mountain range. If it can really be opened, I must enter and take a look. As Su Yin thought to himself, Isi Yun had already left. The Ziwei Pure Land was not peaceful now. With each passing day, more and more powerful cultivators from various races came. Even a younger generation came frequently. In the meeting place of the important figures, there were often terrifying auras. Without a doubt, the negotiations were not going smoothly. However, since the negotiations have been going on for so long, the method to open the immortal mountain range should have been found. If the immortal mountain range is opened, will the yin-yang treasure liquid, which has been lost for countless years, appear? In the ancient universe era, this liquid was known as the strongest body refining liquid. It could make up for the deficiencies of one's physique and strengthen one's blood essence. It was a heaven-defying item that could improve one's aptitude. That's right. The bipolar star originally had the yin-yang fish. Although they are on the verge of extinction, the immortal mountain range has the yin-yang treasure liquid, which is known as a rare immortal liquid. The yin-yang treasure liquid was the strongest liquid essence of the bipolar star. Its effects were world-shaking. In the ancient universe era, the value of this liquid was much higher than the Saint-grade origin serum. This liquid could only be produced in the bipolar star's immortal mountain range. From this, one could see how precious it was. Big news. The immortal mountain range is likely to open. There is already insider news that made people green with envy. Even if they couldn't obtain the good fortune, obtaining the corpses of some deities was a great opportunity. The ancient Tao field is about to open. Chapter 418. Ancient Tao Right Ground. Su Yin held the invitation in his hand, and his eyes shone with a strange light. He wondered what kind of opportunities he would encounter in this place. The female disciple from Ziwei Pure Land, who came to deliver the invitation, was very polite. After all, Xia Kunlun was the disciple of a powerful figure. It was just a spot in ancient Tao right ground, and it was nothing to Ziwei Pure Land. It's about to open. What a coincidence. I wonder if it has anything to do with Great Tao Mountain. Tai Gongji said excitedly. Legend has it that Great Tao Mountain contains shocking Tao fruits. Even if ancient Tao right ground only has a part of it, it's still incredible. If there's an opportunity, it will greatly affect one's future cultivation path. I hope so. Su Yan's eyes were also filled with anticipation. If there really wasn't, then he could only go to Immortal Spiritual Mountain. However, Su Yan wanted to have stronger combat strength before Immortal Spiritual Mountain opened. His goal was to step into Quasi-Dao realm, and even without relying on force armor, he would be able to fight against ordinary Great Dao realm experts. He speculated that Immortal Spiritual Mountain would open soon, or else the younger generation of the major factions wouldn't come here. Everyone wanted to know what kind of legends were in this place that used to be God's Dao right ground. After all, if one wanted to comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth and merge with it, finding a Tao enlightenment sacred land was the best choice. In fact, he heard that even a genius like Sun Dome couldn't obtain the great Tao imprint of the strongest life ancient star. Hence, he had to lay down the foundation in advance and accumulate a peerless foundation in Quasi-Dao realm. Only then would he have a higher chance of obtaining the great Tao imprint's recognition. It was like building a building one step after another. Quasi-Dao realm was like building the Tao foundation. As long as he could stand on this step, he would be able to soar in the future. Su Yan felt that he had to find a peerless Pure Land. If ancient Tao right ground was really a part of Great Tao Mountain, then it was really worth exploring. I wonder how the major factions have discussed. It's been 3 days, and there's still no conclusion. After all, the benefits are too great. The major factions won't give in easily. The Ancestral Hall and the other factions have already paid a huge price. Why would they give in so easily? You're right, but the Nine-Yang sect and the other powerful clans have joined forces. The Nine-Yang sect and the others have to give in. After all, this is a place of fortune, an ancient Taoist shrine. I think it's a place of fortune for the younger generation. Otherwise, they would have already invaded it. Inside the crepe myrtle blessed land, the older generation experts were having a discussion while the younger generation gathered together. Li. Right now, Yuan was full of vigor. He was dressed in luxurious clothes and had a powerful aura. His eyes were as sharp as blades. His figure was tall and sturdy, and his bronze skin was filled with masculine dominance. Yuan's appearance was completely different from before with his disheveled hair. In order to sneak into the ancient Tao ground, Yuan had to put on an act. He walked together with a mysterious existence like Tai Daniu and was valued by the younger generation. He even made some friends. Over the past few days, Yuan's cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. He had even absorbed and refined the great Tao imprint's Tao fruit. Although it was only 10 or 20% of the Tao fruit, it had given Yuan an unimaginable opportunity. That was an imprint left behind by a mighty figure. Tai Daniu clenched his teeth as he observed Yun, who was surrounded by all kinds of geniuses. Even the Star Area Supremes like Sun Dome had put down their pride and showed their admiration for this cold and beautiful extreme insane physique. Yun's temperament was cold and elegant. Her black hair was translucent, and her skin was whiter than snow. She was like a fairy who had walked out of a snowy country. She gave off a cold aura that kept people 1,000 miles away. Some of the young people who didn't have enough disciples didn't dare to talk to her. What a joke. Sun Dome and King Flash were right next to her. Who would dare to approach a woman who could make them work so hard to pursue her? I wonder if the extreme insane physique will marry outside. Someone was very concerned about this matter and whispered, "After all, she is the pearl of the Crepe Myrtle sect. She might not marry for the rest of her life and inherit the sect leader's position in the future." It's hard to say. Today, heroes are rising in the universe. There are many geniuses who are perfect. Perhaps the extreme insane physique is looking for an invincible star area supremacy. I think Sun Dome has a great chance. He and the extreme insane physique can complement each other. Maybe the Crepe Myrtle sect will really agree. There was a lot of discussion in the surroundings. However, someone shook his head and said, "I've heard some rumors. The Crepe Myrtle sect thinks very highly of Shwegwan. He is too mysterious and has never revealed himself. I wonder how strong his dual supremacy physique is." This matter wasn't groundless. Back when the extreme Saint physique appeared, it was accompanied by Shwegwan. As for how high this Shwegwan's position in the Crepe Myrtle sect was, they still didn't know. In this pure land where clouds and mist rolled, the younger generation walked in one after another. There were thousands of them, and their backgrounds weren't small. All of them had powerful auras, and they were likely to be the rulers of powerful races in the future. It's just a small event, but so many young seeds have come. Even Meng Ing was astonished. He thought to himself, it seems like the golden years of the younger generation have arrived. In these few decades, the older generation will retreat behind the scenes, and the younger generation will be in charge. There is no doubt that in the future, the younger generation would rise up and become the rulers of various powerful races. After all, there were already people of the younger generation who had entered the Great Tao realm. Meng Ying looked at Yi Si-yun with satisfaction. She originally thought that Yi Si-yun would look for her and ask about Su Yan. However, she didn't expect Yi Si-yun to act as if she didn't know Su Yan. This made her very satisfied. She felt that Yi Si-yun understood the big picture and was worth grooming in the future. Yi Si-yun's eyes scanned the surroundings. When her gaze swept past Xia Kunlun, she felt apprehensive. After all, this place had become a tiger's den. More than 10 of the younger generation of the Ancestral Hall had come, and 3 of the younger generation of the Dark Underworld lineage had also come. Even the old ancestors of the 2 major orthodoxies were here to discuss matters. If Su Yan's identity was really exposed, he wouldn't be able to escape. How could Su Yan not be worried? However, he could only brace himself. If he didn't have the boundary-breaking talisman, no matter how bold he was, he wouldn't have dared to come here and throw his life away. Once his identity was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Dong, dong, dong. In the depths of the Crepe Myrtle Pure Land, a huge bell appeared in the sky and rang on its own. Purple ripples rippled out, containing the power of the Great Tao, causing this place to instantly quiet down. This huge bell became more and more blazing. Vast waves of the Great Tao surged, and chaotic air currents curled up around it. This bell was a divine king weapon. At the moment when it exhausted all its energy to awaken, the ancient bell emitted a divine might that overflowed into the sky. The aura of the divine king was released. The crowd trembled. This was a world-destroying might. Everyone's hands and feet turned cold, and they felt extremely suffocated. This wasn't targeted at them, but Su Yan felt his heart tremble violently, as if it was going to shatter along with the sound of the bell. This bell contained a demonic nature. Was this the power of the divine king weapon? Su Yan's eyes turned red. When would he be able to obtain such a powerful weapon? Boom! All of a sudden, the purple light of the divine king bell shone brightly and collapsed the space. An area of 10 li turned into a black hole. However, inside this black hole, an ancient starry sky tunnel appeared. It's true, the ancient Tao, right, is hidden in a relatively hidden place. Even Meng Ing didn't know where this place was. Without a doubt, it was not inside the Crepe Myrtle Pure Land, but in a hidden place on the bipolar star. It was the strongest treasure ground of the Crepe Myrtle sect. Of course, no one would believe that the Crepe Myrtle sect would really open this place once every 10,000 years. There must have been some outstanding disciples of the Crepe Myrtle sect who had been to the ancient Tao, right? Everyone walked towards the tunnel one after another. The scene was very quiet. The moment they stepped into the tunnel, Su Yan could clearly feel the astonishing spatial ripples in the tunnel. When one walked on the spatial tunnel, it was as if they were crossing a territory. Some people became more and more interested. Just how strong was the ancient Tao, right? It was actually valued by the Crepe Myrtle sect. Meng Ing and the other elders of the Crepe Myrtle sect led the way at the front. The group walked for about an hour before the entrance to the spatial tunnel appeared. However, The entrance was a bit frightening. It was like an ancient immortal cave, shining with a dazzling light that made it difficult for people to look straight at it. Buzz. Sundome's body shone like an eternal sun burning. Millions of golden rays fell down, making him look like the king of the sun. Divine light erupted from his eyes as he stared straight at the entrance of the ancient Tao Rite. The sound of thunder reverberated between heaven and earth. The world where the Lightning King was unchanged. Some people seemed to see millions of bolts of lightning wreaking havoc, one after another. These were substantial bolts of the Great Path, and every single one of them contained a wave that could destroy heaven and earth. The eruption of these two people was too sudden, especially Sundome and King Flash, who had recovered to the extreme. The various large family clansmen who followed them felt their hearts tremble. It was like they were seeing two condensed grand star domains, releasing terrifying auras that could not be changed. Incien was also recovering. Although his combat strength was extremely strong, and he was known as one of the strongest star domain supreme beings, Incien had not obtained the mark of the Dark Underworld Star Domain's Great Tao. Thus, in terms of might, there was a gap between him and Sundome and King Flash. These three people represented the three peak forces. Their eyes stared unblinkingly at the ancient Tao Rite. Their hearts were greatly shaken because they realized that the ancient Tao Rite was like a small, incomplete universe. Elder Meng Ying, is this an incomplete universe? Sundome asked, his eyes burning. The value of an incomplete universe was too terrifying. Although it was a small universe, it contained shocking Tao fruits. These things usually only existed in the ruins of chaos. The value of a small universe was even more precious than a mighty figure's Tao Rite. It was even difficult to compare them together. Moreover, Sundome could not produce something of this level. Suyin recalled what Fairy Lingyun had said years ago. It was said that the black stone bamboo moon had obtained was from an incomplete universe dug out from the chaos. There were saintly medicines and even divine medicines inside. It could be called the most powerful place of creation. Meng Ying shook his head slightly and said with a smile, "We will know when we get there." Sundome and King Flash suddenly felt that it was a pity. They felt that they should have come to the ancient Tao Rite to comprehend. They could acutely sense that the Tao fruits here were very impressive because they could cause their great Tao marks to tremble. Their great Tao marks were the marks of the most powerful life ancient star. We might have arrived at our destination. Miser was very excited. He lowered his voice and said, "Even a part of the great Tao mountain contains shocking Tao fruits. It is very suitable for Tao integration." Suyan's heartbeat also quickened. It was not because of Miser's words, nor was it because of Sundome and the others. It was because the dragon totem was burning. The temperature this time was very scorching and terrifying. This was the sign of a rare treasure. Chapter 419. They arrived at their destination one after another. The spatial path had disappeared without a trace. This was a sealed territory with an area of about 100 miles. There was a formation covering all four directions. Those were pieces of primal chaos precious bones that appeared in the space. It was very obvious that this was a great formation constructed from a set of primal chaos precious bones. People standing here gave off a feeling of being cut off from the rest of the world. Suyin swept his eyes over it. This great formation was extremely powerful. It covered the sky and covered the earth, cutting through all living things. It was a type of great formation that was hidden. Even with his attainments in the Tao of formations, he couldn't find any clues. It was clear that the Crepe Myrtle sect had spent a lot of effort on this. Even if deities searched the boundless bipolar star, it would be difficult to dig out the location of the ancient Tao Rite. It was right in front of them. It was solemn and serene, and the aura of the great Tao covered the sky and earth. An ancient Tao Rite shone on its own, and a rain of great Tao light poured down. This place was hazy with immortal mist, and its aura was grand and simple. It was difficult to measure how long it had existed. The Tao Rite with an ancient aura wasn't big. The aura inside was divine, and the sound of the great Tao rumbled as it transmitted over. People seemed to see a vast great Tao river appear in front of them. The higher one's cultivation, the more they could sense the mysteriousness and terror of the ancient Tao rite. Even Sun Dome and King Flash, these two renowned star domain supreme beings, felt like they were facing a grand universe when they faced the ancient Tao right at this moment. They were moved and turned pale. This ancient Tao right was truly astonishing. It was located in this territory, and it was like a hibernating great Tao true dragon. It gushed with auspicious multicolored light and scattered down a rain of great Tao light. It didn't seem powerful, but to them, it was a bit suffocating. Why was this? It was because the power of the great Tao was considerably grand. It was like a condensed universe was floating here, releasing the aura of the great Tao of the universe. But how powerful was the ancient Tao rite's Tao fruit exactly? They couldn't sense it at all. With their current strength, they hadn't reached the point where they could completely comprehend the great Tao imprints of the most powerful life forms, so they couldn't come to a conclusion. This is the ancient Tao rite, so why can't I see any clues? A group of cultivators from the younger generation frowned. They carefully looked around, but didn't find anything different. They felt like this was an ordinary Pure Land. Menging smiled, but did not say anything. Over the years, the number of geniuses who could obtain fortuitous encounters from the ancient Tao, right, was as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. It was true that the ancient Tao, right, was a place of fortune, but the Tao fruits here were not accessible to just anyone. One had to be extremely lucky to obtain them. The Sun Dome's group wanted to go in and take a look, but when they got close, they shook their heads. They felt as if the ancient Tao right temple had disappeared and no longer existed in this world. They couldn't find a single trace of it. Without a doubt, only quasi-Tao realm cultivators could obtain the opportunity. Naturally, Dharma characteristic realm cultivators could do so as well. However, King Flash and the other two had all comprehended the great Tao and already had their own paths, so this ancient Tao right temple was not suitable for them. This was a place for Tao building. If the ancient Tao, right, is really a part of the divine spiritual mountain range, this divine spiritual mountain range is really worth exploring. That's right. The atmosphere here is enough to prove the fortune of the divine spiritual mountain range. It was the Tao right temple of the gods during the primordial era. Although the divine spiritual mountain range has turned into a forbidden zone, the fortuitous encounters inside are also extraordinary. Some grand Tao realm experts were discussing. It was a pity that the ancient Tao right temple was useless to them. Cultivators at the quasi-Tao realm or Dharma characteristic realm could not wait to rush in. However, most people were confused. It was as if they had come to an ordinary place and could not sense a trace of the great Tao fluctuations. This made them very vexed. Were their talents that bad? Even if you failed, you don't have to care too much about it. An elder from the Crepe Myrtle sect stepped forward and explained, the fortuitous encounters of the ancient Tao right temple are also dependent on fate. Many heaven-defying people in the past were unable to obtain any fortuitous encounters. If you can't succeed, don't force it. In the ancient Tao right temple, thousands of people of the younger generation had gathered. Their background were not small. Among them, Zhu Yong was the most eye-catching. After all, he was a peerless genius ranked first on the potential roll and the son of the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor. Whether it was his bloodline or talent, he was in a predetermined state. Su Yin looked around the ancient Tao right temple. His eyes were fixed on some strangely shaped stones on the ground. He felt that these stones were very special. They were like some kind of great Tao stone. They were simple and majestic. There were about a dozen stones of different sizes and shapes. Some of the stones were very unusual. Some were completely purple, some were completely golden, and some were completely black. There's something strange about these stones. Su Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. He realized that Zhu Yong and the others were circling around these stones. The nearby cultivators who wanted to join in the fun were all pushed away by the powerful aura emanating from them. This caused them to be shocked and angry. These stones can't be the remnant stones from the Great Tao Mount, right? Miser Rooster was puzzled. Su Yin carefully sensed the mysteries of heaven and earth. He also did not notice any changes in the immortal jade. However, as he sensed, Su Yin vaguely felt a trace of the great Tao fluctuations. He began to chase along the great Tao fluctuations. It was as if he was crossing through unfathomable spaces. This is leading me into the Tao. My bloodline is faintly boiling. Su Yan's eyes flashed with joy. When he opened his eyes, he realized that more than half of the people here were gone. He suddenly realized that an entire day had passed. Looks like Xia Kunlun didn't get anything. The cultivators from various clans outside were watching. Xia Kunlun was also an important person to pay attention to. Some shook their heads and could not help but look down on him. Xia Kunlun, if you can't do it, then leave. Come out and fight. In Xian snorted coldly. The surface of his body emitted a terrifying fluctuation. When he raised his hands and feet, his tyrannical physical strength was awakened. He was like a dragon. His strength was so strong that it caused the space to distort. This heaven and earth could not withstand his powerful strength. Su Yin looked at In Xian and sneered. Are you in a hurry to die? Do you only know how to talk big? In Xian released his aura. It was as if a black abyss was awakening. Rolling ferocious aura soared into the sky. It pierced through the sky. It was as if a black ocean was undulating and rumbling here. He was very terrifying. It was as if he was a demon god looking down on the world. Cold light shot out from his eyes as he stared at Xia Kunlun. The killing intent in his eyes was bone-piercing. Boom! Suddenly, a black stone shone as if it had turned into a great Tao stone. Its aura changed. It was especially majestic. It was as if a black sky was burning, emitting a grand and peerless fluctuation. Meng Ying's pupils suddenly shrank. The change was very sudden. Look, someone has activated the stone body's power in the ancient Tao field. It is rumored that this stone body is a Tao comprehension stone born from the great Tao. It has a heaven-defying effect. Everyone turned pale. Then they saw Shui Guan actually step forward and sit cross-legged on the black stone body. It was as if he was sitting cross-legged on a condensed sky, on a black mountain. His divine might overflowed into the sky. The surrounding people were stunned. Who would have thought that the first one would be Shui Guan? Shui Guan, what a good one. Meng Ying was excited and laughed loudly. Good, good, good. In the past, how many people have been able to activate the power of the great Tao stone? I didn't think that Shui Guan would only spend a day to cause this black stone to shake. Now that he is sitting cross-legged on the Tao comprehension platform, he will obtain a great opportunity. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. No one would have thought that Shui Guan would be the first to cause the Tao stone to shake. Now, the Tao stone had even turned into a small Tao field. Once one sat cross-legged on the Tao stone, they could comprehend the great Tao of the ancient Tao field. What is this Tao stone? How come I didn't know that the Tao stone had such an effect? Some of the younger generation were angry. They didn't know that the Tao stone had such an effect. Don't panic. An expert berated. Everyone can comprehend the Tao stone. Don't blame anyone if you can't comprehend it. Even if your Tao stone is not ordinary, it is still very difficult to comprehend the Tao stone's power. These words were like a basin of cold water. Many people felt uncomfortable in their hearts. Wasn't this saying that they were inferior to Shui Guan? After all, their background were not small, and they had the qualifications to prove their Tao in the future. Meng Ying and the others were very satisfied. From this, they could see how powerful Shui Guan was and how incomparable his talent was. I think that Shui Guan will most likely comprehend the Tao in the ancient Tao field. Someone said, this Shui Guan is too shocking. Once he steps into the great Tao realm, his name will definitely shake the universe. Moreover, Shui Guan has obtained the inheritance of an almighty. His future achievements will be great. That's right. I didn't expect him to be the first. I thought it would be the little ancestor of the ancestral hall. Someone looked at Zhu Yong and realized that he was still comprehending and had not restrained his mind. Could this be the difference? Or could it be that Zhu Yong was inferior to Shui Guan? Isn't it just a Tao stone? Is there a need for this? Tai Daniu's disdainful voice rang out. causing the entire ancient Tao field to fall silent. Meng Ying and the others had ugly expressions. Someone replied, Titaniu. Every time the ancient Tao field opens, there is almost no one who can obtain the help of the Tao stone. Don't compare people from the past with me. Titaniu jumped onto a golden stone. It seemed to be burning, emitting tens of thousands of layers of golden light, illuminating the entire ancient Tao field. This stone was humming, as if a true dragon was awakening. For a moment, Titaniu, who was golden all over, seemed abnormally divine. He had sunk into a state of comprehension. Damn! Some experts' faces twitched fiercely, and their faces darkened. A cow had obtained the help of the Tao stone. They felt that this was somewhat unreal. Shuiguan and Titaniu, aren't they two dark horses? I'm really shocked. Right now, in the ancient Tao field, Zhu Yong, Great Moon Saint Physique, and Xia Kunlun are all extremely talented. Could they be weaker than Shuiguan and Titaniu? How can they compare like this? I don't think Shuiguan is as strong as Zhu Yong. He is the son of the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor. Yeah, guys, look, what is Xia Kunlun doing? The whole place was in an uproar. People saw Xia Kunlun appear in a corner. In front of him was a stone that was not in good condition. It could even be described as a cracked melon. It was completely yellow and was half the height of a person. Su Yin stroked the stone with excitement in his heart. The dragon totem was guiding this stone. Could this be the Stone King? Yin Xian sneered and said, Xia Kunlun, oh Xia Kunlun, you don't have the help of the Tao stone, and you don't need to stare blankly at a broken stone. How laughable! Some of the older generation experts shook their heads. It was difficult to verify how long the ancient Tao right had existed, and it had been opened countless times. Those that could be called great Tao stones were all lined up together. As for this broken stone, no one took it seriously. Ignorant fool. Su Yin looked at Yin Luan and coldly said, If you don't understand, then shut up. You call me ignorant? Chapter 420. The surrounding people laughed. This stone was completely withered and yellow without any luster. Moreover, it was full of bumps and hollows. It was a crooked piece of broken stone that couldn't possibly turn into an enlightenment platform. This Yin Luan was the strongest among the younger generation of the Dark Underworld. With his eyesight, how could he be wrong? Even Sun Dome and King Flash looked over and carefully inspected the broken stone. They shook their heads. What is Xia Kunlun doing? He's a young man after all. After all, he's too arrogant. Now that he saw Shuiguan and Titaniu receiving the help of the Enlightenment Stone, he must be extremely unwilling and delusional to hope for a miracle. Miracle? Are there miracles in this world? Those of the older generation were all discussing, pointing, and snickering. After all, Xia Kunlun was the disciple of a powerful expert. His identity was eye-catching. Although they didn't know whose disciple he was, it was said that he killed Hamba with 3 punches. His combat strength was truly amazing. A stone that even our crepe myrtle sect couldn't see through is originally a useless object. No matter how great Xia Kunlun's identity is, he's still a young brat. It would be strange if he could see through it. Menging also shook his head. Although it was hard to say how long this broken stone had been here, if their crepe myrtle sect couldn't identify it, it must be an ordinary object. Su Yin squatted in front of the broken stone and stroked the withered yellow stone with his palm. How could a stone that could make the dragon totem emit such light be an ordinary object? Brat, what kind of treasure is this? Tai Gongji was also suspicious. He secretly transmitted his voice. Did it trigger a reaction from your bloodline? Could it be a broken stone from the Great Tao Mountain? I really can't see anything wrong with this stone. Tai Gongji didn't know how strong the Great Tao Mountain was, but it was said that the Great Tao Mountain bore the strongest Tao fruit in history. Even if it was a broken stone, it should be a rare treasure. Perhaps it could be used to comprehend the remaining Tao fruit of the Great Tao Mountain. This Tao Comprehension Stone is probably a Stone King. Su Yin muttered in his heart. He immediately got up and sat down on the broken rock with his butt crossed. The moment he sat on it, Su Yin didn't notice any unusual changes. Su Yin pondered. When he first arrived at the ancient Tao, right temple, he sensed a trace of the will of the great Tao between heaven and earth. He followed the fluctuation of the will and finally noticed this broken stone. This stone was definitely not an ordinary object. As expected, Su Yan's emotions surged as he carefully comprehended the stone. He even didn't hesitate to circulate the Origin Sutra. The moment he circulated the sutra, the broken stone produced strands of strange fluctuations that surged up and enveloped Su Yan. This wondrous fluctuation did not belong to the ancient Tao, right Tao fruit. It was like a platform. The moment the platform's energy was stimulated, one's perception would soar by a large margin, perhaps even dozens of times. At this moment, Su Yan once again felt the wisp of power of the great path that guided him just now. He followed the power of the great path and recovered. His spiritual energy burned as he wanted to chase after the source. But the destination seemed to be thousands of miles away. It was too far away. When Su Yan followed the fluctuations of the great path, it was as if he had entered the sea of the great path. This caused Su Yan's emotions to surge. He didn't stay here, but continued to sprint. During this process, Su Yan recalled some of his experiences on the snow mountain. In the past, he had tried his best to reach the dome and enter the core heritage site, but he couldn't do it back then. The current situation was similar to that, but this time, Su Yan was crossing the sea of the great path. The path he crossed gradually changed from a stream to a great river. It gradually became grand and magnificent. The fluctuations of the great path had become much thicker, shocking Su Yan. This was because he discovered that the richness of the great path between heaven and earth was in no way inferior to that of a top Tao right temple. Incredible! The ancient Tao right temple is equivalent to a peerless Tao right temple, but it requires a fortuitous encounter to excavate the heritage. Su Yan was overjoyed. As he continued to sprint, he saw an even vaster world. At the end of a river, there seemed to be a sea of the great path floating up and down. It seemed to be above the heavens, endless and boundless. Su Yan was very excited. This was definitely a terrifying heritage site. If he could merge with the source and merge with it, he would obtain a great opportunity that the world couldn't believe. The value of the ancient Tao right temple had already surpassed that of a top Tao right temple. It could be called a rare immortal ground. This broken stone is too amazing. Could it be that the destination will leap through time and space and cross into the Great Path Mountain? Or could it be that the Great Path Mountain is a void, but it truly exists? Only through it can one see the fruit of the Great Path Mountain. Su Yan pondered in his heart. He prepared to activate the power of the broken stone with all his strength and cross to the peak. The ancient Tao right temple was quiet. The people around were dumbfounded. Xia Kunlun really dared to sit on it. A powerful disciple sitting on a broken stone? On the other hand, the black stone body that Shui Guan sat on was blazing terrifyingly. Vast fluctuations of the great path spread out, setting off Shui Guan as if he was the reincarnation of a deity. It was shocking. There was a sharp contrast between the two, leaving the people around speechless. What was Xia Kunlun doing? Don't you find it embarrassing? Yin Luan had an unforgiving attitude. He put his hands behind his back and looked down at Su Yan. He shouted, I don't even want to kill you. Xia Kunlun, I think you're just putting on an act. How dare you call yourself a powerful disciple? Su Yan woke up and frowned slightly. He raised his eyelids and looked at Yin Luan. He said, I say, can you shut up? Do you have to walk backwards before you'll shut up? Hearing this, Yin Luan was stunned. Then he looked up to the sky and laughed. Xia Kunlun, I really overestimated you. Since you don't have the strength and talent, get out here and stand on a broken stone. What are you showing off for? Buzz. Suddenly, the bumpy broken stone shone. Although it was not bright, the stone body seemed to be dyed with a layer of colorful immortal light. It was dazzling. This stone seemed to have turned into a great Tao platform. The power it emitted increased by 100 times, which made Su Yan excited. With the help of this enlightenment platform, it would not be a problem to enter the strongest inheritance space. This The atmosphere was a little strange. The gathered cultivators looked left and right. Some people's faces were red. This was too much of a slap in the face. They were mocking Xia Kunlun just now, but now a broken stone could do it. Even Sundome and King Flash were a little surprised. They did not realize that this broken stone could be used as an enlightenment platform. Some people looked at Xian and found that his face was trembling, till he clenched his fists. He was trying his best to suppress the anger in his heart. Even Meng Ying was a little stunned and incredulous. This broken stone was an enlightenment platform? When you see me in the future, respectfully call me Big Brother, and I will consider not letting you turn around and leave. Su Yan's gaze turned towards Xian. Su Yan's mocking words caused Luan's heart and lungs to tremble. He was so angry that his face turned ashen. This was too embarrassing. Recalling his firm tone just now, Luan's face turned red and white. The people around did not dare to make a sound. The scene was a little quiet. It's just a broken stone. It can't compare to other enlightenment stones. What's the use of it? Xian said angrily. Since you said so, remember to walk backwards when you see me in the future. Su Yan's cold reply made Xian feel depressed. He could not spit it out no matter how hard he tried. Blue veins popped out on his forehead. He had said those words before, and now he could not refute. Xian was furious. The expressions of the people around were very interesting. Xian had lost a lot of face. They did not expect this broken stone to be useful. However, compared to Shuiguan and Tai Daniu's enlightenment stones, wasn't it too shabby? Su Yan was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. The moment he closed his eyes, his spiritual will soared. He almost had the power of a god. He followed the power of the great Tao and pursued it again. From a stream, to a river, to a river. The great Tao that Su Yan came in contact with began to stack layer by layer. It became more and more terrifying. Now, it was like crossing a river of great Tao. Dong dong. He heard the sound of Tao. It shook the sky and shook the stars. Every sound of the bell was enough to enlighten people. Su Yan was silent inside. He felt that the great Tao that he came in contact with was as vast as a rootless starry sky. It was majestic, boundless, and grand. Su Yan's emotions surged. As long as he could master such a great Tao, he would definitely be a peak expert in the quasi-Tao realm. This was enough for him to comprehend. Especially now that Su Yan had the help of this broken stone, his comprehension speed had increased by 100 times. Such an opportunity was hard to come by. It was equivalent to saving 100 years of time. If he could really comprehend the great Tao river that he saw now, he would definitely be able to become a powerful great Tao expert in the future. I think I should comprehend it for a while before rushing to the peak. Su Yan muttered in his heart. He was immersed in the great Tao river and carefully comprehended it. The speed of his comprehension was too fast. It was like he was riding a rocket. He advanced by leaps and bounds. Many unsolved great Tao profundities were quickly grasped by Su Yan. It's simply a cheating device. Su Yan was shocked. Was this the charm of the great Tao mountain? Among the 9 great celestial mountains, was the great Tao mountain the strongest? Incredible, the extreme insane physique has also obtained a Tao comprehension stone. The whole place was in an uproar. 3 geniuses had appeared in succession. Now, Xian had also been recognized by a crimson Tao comprehension stone. She sat cross-legged on the Tao platform. Her snow-white skin and forehead were shining. She began to merge with the great Tao of the ancient Tao field. Ha, good. The group of elders from the Crepe Myrtle sect were pleasantly surprised. After all, the saint physique that they had taken a fancy to could even touch the fortunes of the ancient Tao field. This meant that Yun's potential was astonishing. However, these dark horses appeared one after another. Everyone felt that it was inconceivable. They couldn't help but wonder if the Golden Age had really arrived. Who is this person? Many people were shocked. A man in luxurious clothes with a domineering aura had also obtained the Tao Comprehension Stone's approval. Yuan sat cross-legged on a crimson stone. His battle physique was shining. It was very blazing and was shaped like a sun. How can this be? Zhu Yong of the Ancestral Hall didn't obtain it? That's right, how can this be? This is too unreasonable. Some people's expressions were not normal. Zhu Sheng's expression was somewhat ugly. They felt that this was an insult to Zhu Yong. It was fine if it was Shui Guan and Xia Kunlun. After all, their backgrounds were astonishing. But what about Tai Dainyu and Yi Yuan? How could they obtain the Tao Comprehension Stone? That's right. Are Xia Kunlun and Zhu Yong weak? What do you mean by that? Xia Kunlun clearly obtained it. Someone frowned. What's the use? Can't you see that the stone isn't powerful enough? The power it emits is too weak. Someone shook his head and looked at the area where Xia Kunlun was. Although the stone was shining, compared to the stone body occupied by Shui Guan and the others, it was clearly not enough. The difference was too great. It's just a blind cat meeting a dead mouse. Yin Xian said disdainfully. What's the use? He can't merge with it. If he really did, then he would be a fool. Why do I feel that we won't be able to stay here for long? On the other hand, Su Yin was secretly surprised. Although he had only stayed for a short period of time, Su Yin felt as though 10 years had passed. His spiritual was filled with the aura of the great Tao. There was a kind of aura of someone who had achieved the Tao. Let's go, the Stone King is up to you. Su Yin roared in his heart. The moment he channeled the Origin Sutra to the extreme, the broken stone awakened. It was like a burning, immortal stone. Its blazing light overflowed into the sky and illuminated the firmament. The broken Stone King was like a great Tao immortal stone that had turned into the Tao Comprehension Stone. Su Yan's forehead burned with a spiritual flame. The moment it gushed out, it pierced through the sea of the great Tao. It was as if it had rushed into prehistoric times and crossed into an ancient universe. Chapter 421. Light shot into the heavens from the ancient Tao Right Temple. Strands of immortal light were released, gushing into the clouds, piercing through the sky dome. The grand formation protecting the ancient Tao Right Temple began to distort. This grand formation couldn't seal the energy, and it was also penetrated. Wang, the expert guarding the ancient Tao field, was awakened. She immediately took action, controlling this grand formation that covered the sky and blocked out the sun. This was to prevent the ancient Tao field's changes from spreading out. After all, once these changes spread out, the ancient Tao field's location would be exposed. Even though the grand formation had sealed the sudden burst of light, the interior of the grand formation was still dazzling, and auspicious signs filled the sky. A piece of broken stone was shining. It was too blazing, not like a piece of stone, but rather like a heavenly sun that was burning here. The broken stone's aura was sacred and dignified, and it was also majestic and peerless. It was like a great Tao platform that had not moved since ancient times. It spewed out a rain of light and was surrounded by immortal light. The figure sitting on the Tao platform was like a divine king, standing high above the 9 heavens. At this moment, Su Yin seemed to have turned into a person who had achieved the Tao. He borrowed the power of the broken stone to discover the land of inheritance hidden in the ancient Tao field to the extreme. He forcibly crossed the river of the great Tao and headed towards a condensed universe of the great Tao. This scene stunned everyone present. It was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. They felt that it was inconceivable because this broken stone was too terrifying. Compared to this broken stone, the wondrous stones in the ancient Tao field seemed a bit weak. They were like small stars arranged next to an ancient planet of life. This difference was obvious. The Tao platform occupied by Shui Guan and the others was not on the same level as this broken stone. How is this possible? Yin Xian was enraged. Killing intent and anger surged in his body. Yin Xian was indignant. His entire body rippled with terrifying light. His strength was unquestionable, and his physical strength could look down on those of the same level. But now, he really couldn't do anything to Xia Kunlun, and he had been humiliated again and again. No matter how good Yin Xian's mentality was, he was about to go crazy. His eyes widened in anger, and killing intent surged in his pupils. But this was the ancient Tao field, and he really didn't dare to use force here. He even dared to force his way in and attack Xia Kunlun. Sundome and King Flash, the two supreme star domain experts, looked at the ancient Dao field, at Su Yin, and even at the broken stone. They were shocked. Their hearts. After all, these two were star domain experts of the two strongest ancient planets of life. And their control of the great Dao. Something strange had happened to the ancient Dao Right Temple. A crappy stone that no one had ever touched was actually emitting this kind of light. Moreover, it was helping an outsider. This made Meng Ying and the others' expressions change. This matter was a bit serious. What should we do? An elder of the Crepe Myrtle sect had an unfriendly expression, a cold light faintly spreading in his eyes. Is it the inheritance of an almighty? Meng Ying's expression was also uncertain. As the first elder of the Crepe Myrtle sect, all the nearby experts of the Crepe Myrtle sect had to listen to her orders. Of course, they had some doubts about Xia Kunlun's identity. Although Xia Kunlun had some doubts about Xia Kunlun's identity, Meng Ying was very sure that Su Yan's master should be an almighty. Back then, when he came near the purple myrtle segmentum, that terrifying technique was unforgettable. Even if Su Yin wasn't the disciple of an almighty, he was definitely related to an almighty. For an unknown, Meng Ying didn't know what to do. After all, this was a matter of great importance. Did the succession really appear? Even the sect master would be shocked if he knew. The blurry figure guarding the ancient Dao field. Her aura became even more terrifying. Her figure was hazy as she sat cross-legged in the chaos. Without a doubt, this was definitely a great figure of the Purple Myrtle sect, a god-level expert. For such an existence to personally guard the ancient Dao field, it was clear that the Purple Myrtle sect valued the ancient Dao field. The younger generation speculated a little and determined that the inheritance of the ancient Dao field was not simple. The inheritance that Xia Kunlun obtained was probably the strongest inheritance. This was a bit shocking, but was the Purple Myrtle sect willing to let the inheritance leak? Don't disturb him. The guardian of the ancient Dao field sent out a thought. Immediately return to the sect and let the sect master come out. Tell him that the inheritance has appeared. What? Even the sect master is concerned? Meng Ying's heart trembled. The sect master of the Purple Myrtle sect was a famous expert in the universe. For her to pay attention to an inheritance, there must be some secrets hidden. Meng Ying hurriedly left, not daring to delay for a moment. This place was quite a distance away from the Purple Myrtle sect. The one who was the most annoyed was definitely Zhu Yong. Xia Kunlun and Shuiguan were fine. After all, they had great backgrounds and were related to almighty experts. But what about Tai Dainyu and Yuan? Whether it was Su Yin or Yi Yun, the blood of the burial region flowed in their bodies. It was also because of the help of the bloodline power that they were able to smoothly comprehend the inheritance of the ancient Dao field. This was a rare opportunity. These guys are going to make a killing. Evatai Rooster was envious. If the ancient Dao field was really related to the Great Dao Mountain, this was a terrifying opportunity. The Great Dao Mountain was known as the mountain that gathered the strongest Dao fruits in the universe. It hid endless Great Dao. If one could fuse with the Great Dao and comprehend some Great Dao power, cultivating to the Quasi-Dao realm would be too easy. The Great Dao of heaven and earth that one could grasp in the Quasi-Dao realm would be absolutely terrifying. It could be said that these four terrifying geniuses had been created. But what shocked Tai Rooster the most was still Shuiguan. He suspected that this Shuiguan had hidden his strength very deeply. Even Zhu Yong could not compare to Shuiguan. This person was definitely a formidable opponent for Su Yin in the future. What kind of inheritance will Xia Kunlun obtain? This place was in an uproar. In ancient history, there was an almighty expert who said that being able to take this step was related to the ancient Dao field. This kind of opportunity caused all the major peak forces to be envious. They were all guessing whether Xia Kunlun would obtain this kind of opportunity. 1. Su Yan's body shone on its own. Because it was covered by the aura of the broken stone, it was difficult for outsiders to see his specific strength. There was a faint aura of the great Tao emanating from his body, although it was hazy. But layer after layer of the aura of the great Tao emanated terrifying fluctuations. A majestic aura spread out like an illusory giant. It was similar to the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. However, this kind of lawful embodiment of heaven and earth was imbued with the power of the great Tao. This was somewhat terrifying. If he said that the power of the transcendence realm was formless, then now that his body was filled with the power of the great Tao, one could imagine how strong his combat strength was. Therefore, the gap between the quasi-Tao realm and the transcendence realm was very large. Once one stepped into this realm, it could be said that a golden path had been opened. Su Yan's spirit will burned. Guided by the power of the broken stone, Su Yan's spirit entered the great void. It was as if he had escaped into the vast cosmos and entered the celestial dome of the nine heavens. In the face of such a majestic great Tao inheritance, Su Yan was as insignificant as an ant. Now that the ant had rushed up, it was as if he had barged into a condensed universe. The heavenly sound of the great Tao filled the sky, rumbling endlessly. This is the great Tao mountain? Su Yan was shocked and alarmed. He had come into contact with a corner of the inheritance, and it was already majestic enough. It was even more majestic than the divine king's imprint. This was equivalent to a supreme, sacred land, one of the most terrifying Tao grounds in the world. He instantly confirmed the truth of the rumors. If he could comprehend it, it wouldn't be surprising for him to become a supreme being. The inheritance in the ancient Tao grounds was far beyond Su Yan's expectations. If it's the great Tao mountain, how strong was the ancestor who created it? Su Yan murmured in his heart. His heart was filled with admiration and passion. This was the creation left behind by the ancestor of the burial realm. It had been passed down for millions of years. Each of the 9 great celestial mountains should have a different effect. If the snow mountain on Earth was one of the 9 great celestial mountains, then it should be related to the path of the physical body. The heavenly mountain on the Big Dipper should be related to time and space, or even the path of time. This was the strongest spatial power related to time and space. It was simply an inheritance left behind by the existence that created the universe. And the great Tao mountain was related to the great Tao. Comprehending a part of it was enough to benefit a lifetime. Su Yan was like a tiny ant looking up at all of this. Because of the power of the broken stone, Su Yan's comprehension speed was extremely fast. In addition to the previous contact and comprehension of the great Tao, Su Yan's understanding of the great Tao had reached a profound level. But this time, the Tao fruit he came into contact with was too shocking and unfathomable. It was like an immortal abyss of the great Tao lying here, making Su Yan feel a little suffocated. Buzz! His illusory body glowed as he sat inside, looking solemn and dignified. Su Yan opened his mind to feel the changes. As time passed, Su Yan could see more and more. Time flew slowly. He didn't know how many years had passed, but it felt like 10 years. Inside, Su Yan could not feel the flow of time at all. It was like a frozen space-time. His body became increasingly hot, just like a sun that illuminated the world. The light also filled this condensed universe. Su Yan's body became increasingly hot. Gradually, Su Yan had a kind of mentality that looked down on heaven and earth. He grasped a kind of power, as if he was standing on earth and looking down on the entire universe. It was a very scary mentality. This was given by the great Tao. Of course, only the world's most powerful land of inheritance could give it to him. He was like a person who had attained the Tao and looked down on the entire universe. Finally, one day, Su Yan saw the whole picture and the whole world. But this world was like a mountain. He saw a corner of the magnificent world clearly. It was as grand and vast as the universe. It was really scary. Body like the universe. Su Yan's eyes shone with wisdom as he said loudly, I am a universe. Tao is all things, the sun, the moon, all things. Body like the starry sky. In terms of mastering the initial sutra, he had crossed an important step. At the moment when he entered this stage, Su Yan's every cell was trembling with excitement. There was a kind of melting and merging with the great Tao and the universe as one. What was this? This was Tao integration. It was like attaining the Tao in this universe and obtaining everything in this universe. He was about to grow to such a powerful domain. Would that be the end of this person? Boom. Suddenly, Su Yan saw a person. The world he saw changed because he comprehended an important chapter of the initial sutra. It caused his cultivation to increase, and the world he saw also changed. Su Yan saw a person who filled the immortal sky and looked down on time. He was like the Tao, suppressing all things in the universe until they lost their brilliance. Chapter 422. Su Yan observed. It was as if he was looking at a chapter of the initial sutra. The body was like the universe. This was explained from the opening chapter of the initial sutra, and it also seemed to be the ultimate goal. Now, that Su Yan had cultivated to this realm, he had already come into contact with the great Tao. In other words, the cultivation of the initial sutra had reached a crucial stage, and the strongest era of the initial sutra was about to arrive. Su Yan was looking forward to stepping into the great Tao realm and evolving the power of the universe. How powerful would that be? Su Yan observed this blurry figure. He was like a condensed universe. His blood was like a galaxy, his bones were like mountains, and his organs were like mountain ranges. Everything was like a condensed universe that filled the world. Although this blurry figure remained motionless, Su Yan could feel that he could easily release an aura that could destroy the world. He could easily collapse the sea of stars. How powerful was this? How unparalleled was this? He looked down on the universe and looked down on time. He was truly an invincible giant. Wong. As he watched, Su Yan's bones and blood boiled. This blurry figure seemed to be constructed from scriptures, causing the initial sutra in his body to boil and circulate violently. He entered a state of enlightenment. It could even be said that he was transforming. The speed of enlightenment was too fast. With the help of the broken stone, Su Yan's understanding of the great Tao skyrocketed. His entire body emitted a blurry light of the great Tao, as if a person who had attained the Tao was sitting here, chanting scriptures. The place where Xia Kunlun is in seclusion is too blurry. I can't see clearly, but I can faintly hear the sound of scriptures. These scriptures are very extraordinary. I can't understand them at all. Is this person trying to integrate the Tao here and step into the great Tao realm? The people in the surroundings were discussing. No one thought that Xia Kunlun was still in the transcendence realm. After all, he had killed Hamba with 3 punches. What if he was in the transcendence realm? Who would believe it? Although Su Yan's physical body had already reached this level, he had grasped the great Tao of heaven and earth. There was naturally no suspense about his strength multiplying. The group of elders from the Crepe Myrtle sect had uncertain expressions. Although they wanted to rope in Xia Kunlun, they weren't so generous as to hand over the mysterious inheritance. Who knew what kind of opportunity Xia Kunlun had obtained in the ancient Tao field? They did not expect that after so many years, there was still an undiscovered inheritance hidden in the ancient dojo. As for the enlightenment platform that Shui Guan and the others had obtained, many people had obtained it over the years. However, this was the first time that the enlightenment stone that Su Yan had excavated had appeared. Now that it was obtained by Su Yan, it would be strange if the Crepe Myrtle cult's elders could remain calm. However, they did not dare to rashly interrupt him. It was too dangerous if there was an accident during the enlightenment process. If Xia Kunlun died here, Crepe Myrtle sect would be in big trouble. The Great Moon Saint Physique will probably take this opportunity to enter the quasi-Tao realm, right? The atmosphere of the great Tao permeated the ancient Tao field. There were still many cultivators who were unwilling to give up and wanted to try their luck. Currently, only a few of them had received help from the Tao Enlightenment Stone. Yi Yun, Tai Bao Kai, and Yi Yuan were all in the Transcendence realm. This time, the ancient Tao right would definitely be able to help them step into the quasi-Tao realm. After all, if this enlightenment sacred ground really failed, the chances of them stepping into the quasi-Tao realm in the future would be very slim. There were also people who were paying attention to Shueguan. Someone whispered, "Do you guys think that Shueguan will take this opportunity to step into the Great Dao realm? His foundation is already terrifying enough. It will be very difficult for him to continue growing in the Quasi-Dao realm." Who knows? However, I feel that Shueguan will return to the Big Dipper constellation and step into the Great Dao realm in the Big Dipper constellation. He will become the new Big Dipper Supreme. At this point, the atmosphere here was a little cold. When the Big Dipper constellation was mentioned, people could not help but think of Su Yin. I wonder where that young overlord called Su Yin is now. I heard that the Ancestral Hall's people are going crazy looking for him. Only heaven knows. Someone lowered his voice and said, "Zhu Yang's branch can be said to be the outer elders of the Ancestral Hall. Too many of them have died in his hands. Even the purple sun, Dao, ground collapsed. Zhu Yang was exhausted while he was still alive. This is truly unimaginable. How strong is this Su Yin now? It is said that he is the rising star of the Burial Region's race. There is no need to say much about his strength. However, isn't he too bold? Is he not afraid of dying without a burial ground? Sigh. It is said that the Burial Region's race was at the peak of their prosperity in the ancient era. It is a pity that the current situation of the universe has nothing to do with the Burial Region's race. It is too difficult for them to rise. Who could be on equal footing with the strongest life, form ancient stars, young overlord? The huge storm that had happened half a year ago was still lingering. Now, they could not help but feel apprehensive as they discussed. Although they did not know the inside story, the collapse of the Purple Sun Dao field had shaken the entire universe and all the major races. However, Su Yin seemed to have evaporated into thin air. There was no trace of him at all. This matter had become a mystery. Buzz! Suddenly, the figure sitting cross-legged on the broken stone began to emit a blazing aura. It was as if an ant had transformed into a giant and suddenly poured out in full force. Even with the obstruction of the broken stone's domain, the aura still seeped out. These wisps of aura were somewhat indistinct, but it was indeed frightening. It was like an awakened abyss of the great Tao, causing the nearby cultivators who were searching for opportunities to feel an enormous pressure. Even their breathing became heavy. This change shocked the surrounding people, and they all turned their gazes to Xia Kunlun. Why do I feel that Xia Kunlun has not stepped into the Quasi-Dao realm? Someone's words were astonishing and caused a great commotion. They felt that this was inconceivable. He had not stepped into the Quasi-Dao realm, but he had already sacrificed the drought demon? How is this possible? The expressions of the experts of the older generation outside the ancient Dao field changed slightly. Their gazes were focused on Su Yin. Although they could not see through this person, the commotion caused by Su Yan's breakthrough was great. However, no matter how great the commotion was, they could still sense that this great Dao power was indistinct and illusory. What was this? This was the embodiment of the Quasi-Dao realm, a great Dao that had yet to materialize. How is this possible? They found it hard to believe. If Xia Kunlun had just stepped into the Quasi-Dao realm, then how great was his potential? What kind of shocking battle prowess had he accumulated in the Transcendence realm? Zhu Sheng was tongue-tied. He could not believe that Xia Kunlun had previously been in the Transcendence realm. Rumble. The commotion caused by Su Yan's breakthrough was even more shocking. His flesh shell was blazing like a great sun, and it was as if a small, condensed universe was shining. The life spring in his body produced indistinct great Dao power. Su Yin was merging with the Dao, and he was merging with the world he saw. At this moment, Su Yin had become a part of the ancient Dao field. Thus, the great Dao power awakened in his body was extremely terrifying. It was as deep as the universe and the abyss. Heavens! Everyone present cried out in alarm as they saw Xia Kunlun throw out piles of heavenly essence stones. He took out a total of 5,000 kilograms of heavenly essence stones, and there were even jars of various limited-grade treasured liquids. There was even a lot of heavenly earth source plasma. In short, it was as if a treasure vault had been opened. Colorful divine light shot out in all directions. As Su Yin recovered and breathed, all the pores on his body opened up. As he breathed, strands of essence, divine energy penetrated his body. How much potential does he have to need so many resources to break through? The disciple of a supreme being is too rich. He has all kinds of limited-grade resources. Xia Kunlun is indeed a supreme being's disciple. The younger ones were shocked. Some were envious, and some were jealous. After all, this batch of resources was too precious. Some of them could not be described with money. Just the aura of the great Tao alone was enough for Su Yin to break through the levels. At the moment when Su Yin was breaking through, it was as if he was being pressed down by a huge mountain. Terrifying shackles bound Su Yan's entire body, making him feel like he was about to explode. This was a pressure that originated from the great Tao. Similarly, when breaking through in the rare Tao field, the suppression was also incomparably shocking. Su Yin rejoiced that his physical body was strong. Otherwise, it would be too difficult to break through. Under the support of this boundless foundation, Su Yin rapidly became stronger. His body was filled with boundless vitality that penetrated his life spring. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of scriptures was transmitted from his body. Every syllable was like hammering the starry sky, accompanied by the release of his foundation. Terrifying surges came one after another. Su Yin was almost facing the strongest suppression of the great Tao of the universe in history. Under such terrifying pressure, he released all of his foundation and fiercely broke through. He was like an ant that had been suppressed on the ground. He became stronger and stronger bit by bit, rising up bit by bit. The spectators were dumbstruck. The experts of the older generation also felt that it was inconceivable. How strong were these shackles? Why did they feel that Xia Kunlun's breakthrough was dozens of times more difficult than theirs? Even the countless resources were rapidly depleted. And Su Yin took out batch after batch, stunning Zhu Sheng. He was too rich. He had taken out at least 30,000 kilograms of celestial essence stones. Adding all kinds of limited-grade resources, he had already taken out 100,000 kilograms of celestial essence stones. Of course, no matter how terrifying his foundation was, it couldn't compare to Su Yan's potential. Some people felt that he was already terrifying enough. His body was blurry and frightening. He was like a young divine king hibernating in the abyss, climbing up step by step. An abyssal aura of the great Tao rushed out as Su Yin swallowed the boundless foundation. In the end, everyone present was in an uproar. The material Su Yin took out made even the masters of the universe jealous. Saint-grade heaven and earth source plasma. Countless people were breathing heavily. Even Zhu Yong was astonished. How many forces in the world could take out such an item? But Su Yin had grasped it and even directly took it out and swallowed it into his stomach. Su Yin roared toward the sky. Under the baptism of the saint-grade heaven and earth source plasma, his aura blazed by a great deal. Even his blood was boiling. A familiar feeling that he hadn't felt in a long time attacked his body. His bloodline was being nourished by the saint-grade heaven and earth source plasma. Under the energy of the quasi-Tao realm evolution, his blood essence that had been hibernating all this time suddenly surged violently, emitting the rumbling sound of a tsunami. This was the change in his bloodline. The power of the bloodline essence of the burial region was now being stimulated. However, in the boiling process of this originally bright red blood, all kinds of mysterious auras pervaded. At times, golden light would flourish, and at times, purple gas would rise. At times, blue light would be like the sea, and at times, green gas would fill the sky. Chapter 423. In the vast universe, the ancestral star zone was the most powerful star zone that was recognized by all the races in the star sea. The progenitor was an ancient life star that had existed for a long time. It was known as the most powerful ancient life star. There wasn't just a single great Tao dragon vein here. It was as if there was a universe ancestral vein buried underground, gushing with auspicious multicolored light. The great Tao aura here was so thick that it covered the sky. It was as if an independent space-time was floating here. The ancestral land of the ancestral palace was boundless. Every palace was engraved with profound, great Tao heavenly traces. These buildings were almost immortal and had existed for millions of years. Archaic divine mountains were built one after another. Every divine mountain surged with a tide of life essence that scattered down. Auspicious light shot out in all directions, nourishing the great earth. These divine mountains were all extraordinary. Every divine mountain was a type of Tao field that contained an abyss-like great Tao aura. The territory was vast and suffused with a boundless aura. Dong dong. The sound of war drums echoed throughout the ancestral land, causing divine light to rush into the heavens from within the ancestral palace. Killing intent surged, penetrating the heavens and submerging a corner of the vast starry sky. For a moment, a corner of the progenitor seemed to be burning. Killing intent overflowed into the heavens as great waves rose and fell. Experts walked out from the palaces one after another. Generals rushed out from the Tao palaces. All kinds of terrifying auras pervaded the air. Giant archaic beasts roared like thunder, shaking the great mountains. They were all awakened by the war drums. This was a summon to join the battle. Hanlong, a certain immortal palace flourished with divine light. An elder walked out from within. Although he was in his twilight years, when his eyes opened and closed, the scene of the destruction of great stars in the universe appeared. It was truly intimidating. Deputy Yongbo, outside the immortal palace, experts gathered. Ancient beasts roared and battleships filled the sky. Elite troops attacked and paid their respects in unison. The experts were in awe. Among the 5 deputy hall masters of the ancestral palace, Zhu Yang had fallen. Among the remaining 4, Zhu Yanghua was the oldest and had the highest seniority. He was an expert from the same generation as the ancestral palace's ancient ancestor. However, he had obtained a great opportunity in the primal chaos ruins and swallowed a treasure not inferior to divine medicine. It extended his lifespan and allowed him to live until now. He was at least 10,000 years old, even older than the old Star Lord of the Big Dipper clan. Among the 4 hall masters of the ancestral palace, Zhu Yanghua was the oldest and Zhu Cheng was the youngest. However, Zhu Cheng was the strongest. The ancestral hall's ancient ancestor treated Zhu Cheng as the next generation's successor. Zhu Cheng would only come out of seclusion if something big happened in the ancestral hall. Of course, Zhu Yanghua, who had the highest seniority, would not casually take action. But now that Zhu Yanghua had appeared, something big must have happened. Bipolar star. An aged voice resounded through the air like the rumbling wheels of history. Zhu Yanghua's aura was extremely world-shaking. He had received news that traces of the burial region's bloodline had appeared. Their destination was the bipolar star. Reporting to Vice Palace Master, someone stepped forward and said, "In the bipolar star, the divine spiritual mountain range is about to open. I just received the news." An outer sect elder shouted coldly. In the bipolar star, the remnant bloodline of the burial realm bloodline has attracted the attention of the blood altar. You should be a big fish that is even scarier than Su Dalong. What? A bloodline that is even more powerful than his? Everyone's expression changed. A fish that was even scarier than Su Dalong? Could it be that the old leader of the burial realm bloodline had recovered his vitality? They felt that this was impossible. Although 100 years had passed, the ancestral palace's ancient ancestor had been completely exhausted in that battle. The old leader's situation was definitely worse than the ancestral palace's ancient ancestor. He wouldn't easily crawl back up. Of course, we can't deny that it might be a clansman of the burial realm bloodline. An outer sect elder said coldly, "Even if we have to overturn the entire bipolar star, we have to capture that person. Life or death." Hanlong. This broken earth region's killing intent overflowed into the heavens. Iron spear, energy spread out. Ancient beasts roared at the sky. A terrifying aura spread out, as if the gates of hell had been opened. More than half a year ago, Purple Sun Dao Right had collapsed. Zhu Yang had fallen, and more than 20 young disciples had died. This was an unbearable pain for the ancestral palace. They had been suppressing this anger in their hearts until now. Now that the enemy's traces had appeared, they all released their terrifying killing intent. I hope it's number 5. Capturing him is more worth it than killing the old leader of the Burial Realm bloodline. Zhu Yan's eyes shot out killing intent. This was a mission issued by the ancient ancestor 100 years ago. An important character of the Burial Realm bloodline had appeared in the world, but they still couldn't lock onto the target. Previously, Su Yan's appearance made them feel that they might have found the target. As long as they could capture Su Yan alive, everything would be clear, including the secrets hidden in the demonic mist. That was why Zhu Yanbo had come out of seclusion and personally headed to the Bipolar Star to capture Su Yan. A large number of Ancestral Palace experts had set out for the Bipolar Star. In order to ensure that nothing went wrong, they had brought all kinds of secret treasures. They could definitely seal the entire Bipolar Star. The current Bipolar Star. It was a place where experts gathered. For the treasures of the Divine Mountain Range, almost all the powerful races of the universe had arrived. It was as lively as it could be. The changes in the ancient Dao field were also eye-catching. The blood in Su Yan's body was boiling. His bloodline could be said to be very special. There were gold, red, blue, green. There seemed to be 9-colored blood flowing in his body. Although the color looked dim, there were already signs of it. 9 different colors of blood? No one would believe it. There were all kinds of strange bloodlines in the world, but 9-color bloodlines were unheard of. However, the 9-colored blood flowing in Su Yan's body was like a combination of 9 different bloodlines. The aura of human treasures transmitted from the blood made Su Yan's body much stronger. However, he felt that the foundation needed to awaken the 9-colored blood was difficult to measure. It might be possible for him to step into the Great Dao realm in the future. Why is it 9-colored blood? Su Yan muttered in his heart. Generally speaking, bloodlines were inherited from their parents. Of course, there were also special situations. It could be that they had eaten some kind of treasure, causing their bloodline to mutate. It could also be that they had awakened the bloodline of their ancestors. There were also experts with extraordinary means who could transform the bloodline in their body, turning it into divine blood. However, Su Yan didn't expect that his bloodline was 9-color blood. Although the color was very dim, he felt that if his bloodline was strong enough, his blood would completely turn into 9-color blood. Buzz! Su Yan's chest glowed, hazy with the light of the Great Dao. There seemed to be a small person sitting cross-legged in his heart, but it also seemed like it didn't exist. It was very blurry, accompanied by space-time light rain. This was Su Yan's natural mystical ability. Now that quasi-Dao power was being nurtured in his body, it caused the nurturing of his natural mystical ability to reach a crucial moment. As his chest rose and fell, flames surged, and the aura of time faintly appeared. Su Yan's mind sank into the imprint. He was in a daze, as if he sensed the flow of time. Could it be? Su Yan felt that it was inconceivable. The natural mystical ability that was being nurtured was related to time. If that was really the case, then it would be terrifying. He could control the power of time, which was also the power of time. What kind of world-shaking, mystical ability was this? In any case, Su Yan had never heard of this mystical ability. Just thinking about it made him realize that this power was boundlessly terrifying. Even the Divine King probably wasn't qualified to come into contact with it. If it was really related to time and time, then it would definitely be an invincible mystical ability secret technique that belonged exclusively to Su Yan. He observed carefully and discovered that if he wanted to nurture this mystical ability, his cultivation had to step into the Great Dao realm. In fact, he even needed to obtain a large amount of qi of Great Dao to supplement this mystical ability and use it as nourishment to complete its evolution. If I can really create a natural mystical ability that is related to time, even if I have to go bankrupt, it will be worth it. Su Yan thought to himself. He didn't waste any more time and continued to break through. Su Yan's aura continuously fused with the ancient Tao field and even merged with the Tao. He discovered that the ancient Tao field was very special and concealed a terrifying power that belonged to the power of great Tao. However, this kind of power could only be excavated by using these broken stones. In that case, were these stones the remnant stones of the great Tao mountain? Boom! Su Yan's aura flourished once again, like a huge dragon that was awakening from its slumber. The blurry aura of great Tao covered the sky and covered the sun, penetrating through the sky. His life spring seemed to have transformed into a blurry spring of great Tao that was unfathomable. It chanted Tao sounds and rumbled. At the moment when the initial scripture was circulating, Su Yan's limbs and bones shone with dazzling light. His life spring seemed to have transformed into the flames of great Tao, and his corporeal body was like a furnace. At the moment when the great Tao heavenly furnace appeared, Su Yan's aura was completely different. His might shook the universe, and he could easily erupt with super powerful battle prowess. This was the trend of nurturing an astonishing battle physique. At this moment, Su Yan was like a great Tao realm cultivator. This is heaven-defying. Tai Rooster was the closest to Su Yan. The people outside couldn't see it clearly, but Tai Rooster realized that when Su Yan circulated the scripture, it was like a great Tao body was standing here. His battle prowess was astonishing, and his divine might was surging. How many resources did he absorb? Why do I feel like he has stepped into the great Tao realm? Xia Kunlun's current domain shouldn't be at the great Tao realm. If Xia Kunlun had stepped into this realm, there would be some changes in this world. However, there are no signs at all. This means that Xia Kunlun has just broken through to the quasi-Tao realm. Everyone present was discussing fervently. 99% of the younger generation was at the quasi-Tao realm. Su Yan had already caught up with the cultivation of his peers. Moreover, the significance of breaking through at the ancient Tao field was different. He would definitely lay down a supreme Tao foundation. In that case, he had already accumulated the most important foundation in the quasi-Tao realm. Therefore, there was an 80% chance that he would succeed in comprehending Tao in the next 10 years. Outside the ancient Tao field, the doyens of the various aristocratic clans were looking at him with burning eyes. With Xia Kunlun's background, potential, and battle prowess, he was too worth roping in. It was worth it to go all out to rope in such an exceptional Engjia. After all, once he stepped into the great Tao realm in the future, he would definitely be a famous expert in the universe. He would be an overlord of the younger generation and would have the qualifications to contend for hegemony in the world in the future. He would be conferred the title of a young paragon. Su Yan's eyes suddenly opened, and the divine might all over his body was retracted. All of a sudden, Su Yan sensed a hint of threat that came from the future. He was horrified. What was this? Right now, his cultivation had already crossed a watershed. His intuition was very sharp, and he could predict some fatal dangers in advance. Su Yan's expression kept changing. If it was really a fatal threat, then his identity must have been exposed. Let's go. Su Yan instantly made a decision. This was an unknown danger, and it made him uneasy. Just as Su Yan stood up, he felt a chill run down his spine, and even the back of his head felt cold. This was an extremely unbearable aura that enveloped him. Who is it?